Good morning. GB News can exclusively reveal that over 1,200 migrants crossed the Channel yesterday.
Yes, it's a new record, if you like, with border officials forced to call on fishing boats for help.
The government lost control of the borders. I'm determined that we'll retake control of the borders.
Well, action is promised, but the crisis is worsening. So when will we see results?
Biggest increase in defence spending for this country since the end of the Cold War.
The only way is up. The Defence Secretary John Healey says there's no doubt the UK will spend 3% of GDP on defence within the next Parliament.
With the nation's finances already stretched, will we see further benefits and public services slashed to fund the boost?
Prince Harry reportedly sought advice from Princess Diana's brother about changing his family name to Spencer. According to the Daily Mail, he discussed the issue with Earl Spencer, but was then told legal hurdles would be insurmountable.
It is, first and foremost, a punishment.
That's the view of the Justice Secretary, but is it time to take punishment a step further and ban Britain's most dangerous prisoners from receiving money from their families? We'll talk to Anne Widdecombe later.
Up in smoke, France is going to ban smoking in public areas frequented by children. So should we follow suit and stub out smoking in all public places?
And officially, it's the first day of summer today, but as the countdown to barbecues and beach trips begins, will this live up to expectations or bring more surprises?
The past couple of weeks where we've had a CT scan done 1 or 2 days after the chest x-ray's been done, and they've started down that lung cancer pathway within 1 or 2 days of seeing the GP.
Artificial intelligence, AI, steps into the National Health Service. Scotland is trialling early cancer and head trauma detection. It's hoped that that will cut waiting times from weeks to minutes. So could this transformation be needed to slash waiting times everywhere?
Oh, that's a bit of a shocker. Ncuti Gatwa has stepped back from Doctor Who, but then Billy Piper popped up as apparently the next one. Stephanie Tecci will be in the studio later to bring us the latest.
Good morning. They were magnifique in Munich. Paris Saint-Germain end their agonising wait for a Champions League triumph with a record-breaking 5-0 win over Inter Milan at the Allianz Arena. And at the French Open tennis, 2 Brits make it to the round of 16 for the first time ever.
Well, it's the start of meteorological summer, but has the weather got the memo? I'll have all of the details coming up shortly.
It's just gone 6 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
And I'm Anne Diamond, and this is GB News Breakfast. Well, what do you think of Billy Piper being the next Doctor Who, if that is what's going to happen?
Yes, don't think it is. Don't think it is.
Does it just look like one of those flashbacky things?
Well, it's something weird. If you're not a Doctor Who fan, you'll wonder what on earth is going on with it all. But it's something a bit like we saw with David Tennant, I think, where he just appeared very briefly. Yep. Because she's made a point of saying she hasn't referred to herself in that role at all. No. She's just said Rose. A rose is always a rose. Yeah,
so she is still Rose.
She's still Rose Tyler.
Yeah. But, and it's, I mean, it's just the way they do cliffhangers nowadays, isn't it? Because it's the end of that season. And we've all got to speculate now for months on end about who is the next Doctor Who.
Yeah, it's...
Haven't the ratings tanked as well?
Yeah,
yes,
the ratings
absolutely.
have tanked. I mean, the fact that Ncuti Gatwa has gone after 2 seasons is pretty...
Christopher Eccleston only did 1.
He only did 1. Well, yeah, but that was terrible in and of itself, I think.
What, you mean the fact that he only did 1 was terrible? Because he was very good.
He was very good.
Yeah. What was that about then? Why?
He had a big falling out.
Was it a contract?
Yeah.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, I've always wondered why. OK.
Yeah. No, he didn't, and he didn't like the scheduling of it all, and it was very hard work. So he wasn't mad keen on that, but he had a big falling out. But it's 2 seasons isn't enough. I don't think you need to.
I
You need to
haven't even
knuckle
watched
down.
one episode of that. Is he any good?
Yeah, he's all right. Some of the I've only seen the first season.
The scripts are a bit odd. aren't they?
It's a bit. Some of it's a bit weird, but he's a very good actor.
Yeah.
He's a very good actor. He brings a lot to the role. It's why you can't bring someone back who was a companion for.
To be the Doctor. That doesn't
several
make any
seasons.
sense, even in the world of
No.
sci-fi.
No, it doesn't. No.
Was it Timothy Dalton who just did one Bond?
No.
Who was it?
No. It was.
I thought it was.
No, it wasn't.
Was it Living Daylights?
No, it wasn't Timothy Dalton. He did several Bonds. It was I forgot his
Lazenby?
name.
Yeah, well-
George Lazenby, who
Oh, he only
did
did
on His
one.
Majesty's Secret Service, and he only did one. He was never an actor, you know.
I didn't know that.
No,
What
he
was
wasn't
he?
an
A
actor.
model
He was
or
like a
something?
model.
Yeah.
And they brought him in for one Bond, and I think that was the one Joanna Lumley was in as a Bond girl as well.
Oh.
But it absolutely flopped. He just couldn't do it, so they pulled him. But no, he's the only one who's only ever done one.
Maybe they needed an actor. You would have
Well,
thought.
you'd think it helps.
Yeah, you would think so, yeah.
Yeah. We don't even know who the next Bond is yet, do we?
No. Well, they just feast on the speculation that
Yes.
goes on for months on end, and in the end you just don't care.
No, you give up caring.
Yeah.
Anyway, look, enough waffle. Let's
not
crack on
available
with the
for it.
serious stuff now. Because GB News can exclusively reveal the full scale of the crisis in the Channel, with a maritime security source telling GB News that both French and British border patrols are becoming completely overwhelmed.
Yesterday alone, 1,200 migrants crossed the Channel, marking the highest daily total ever recorded, and 43% higher than this time last year.
Well, that means that British and French lifeboats, even fishing vessels, were forced to step in as official resources buckled under the pressure.
So what the heck is going on? I mean, has this become... Well, it is already a national emergency. What do we do about it? And is this government anywhere nearer smashing the gangs? There's remarkable coverage, actually, in today's paper. Political commentator Theo Usherwood has been looking through the papers too on this. I mean, it was an extraordinary day yesterday.
It was. There's no doubt about it. I mean, look, if you look at the front page of the Sunday Telegraph, the PM has lost control of borders, and you've got that picture of a dinghy overwhelmed, I mean, by the number of men.
Yeah.
Only men.
Oh, yes, it's only men.
Only men on it.
For a start, the dinghy is completely overloaded. But, you know, they're all, as they say, fighting-age young men.
These are the headlines and the pictures that are keeping the Prime Minister and his team in Number 10 awake at night. We had 1,000... They are, because, Stephen, there is no solution that he's willing to countenance in terms of leaving the ECHR. We heard his Attorney General, Lord Hermer, in the week compare...
In whom he has total confidence.
And he said that he compared, calls for the UK to leave the ECHR to the rise of Nazism. The Prime Minister was categorical at a press conference, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, when he was asked whether he was prepared to do it. And, of course, the reason that this is critical to creating a deterrent is, and this is what Nigel Farage and this is what Boris Johnson tried to do with the Rwanda, but wasn't prepared to do it, well, he never got round to leaving the ECHR, is that it is necessary because you cannot come to this country. If you come to this country, you can claim the right to remain here. They usually do under Article 8. We've heard of the cases about chicken nuggets, where people were there, their child didn't like the chicken nuggets, so he managed to claim asylum in this country. So that's the problem the Prime Minister faces, is the one solution that he's willing, or he would be able to use to potentially create that deterrent to reduce the pull factor, because there would always be the threat that if you arrived in this country, then you could be deported to a country like Rwanda. He's not willing to do. They are looking at return hubs. Number 10 are looking at return hubs, but we saw what happened when he went to Albania. That was a country he initially thought of doing it, and the Albanian Prime Minister turned around and said, no, Giorgia Meloni,
But we've got to do something. I mean, the point is, there's got to be some serious action, one where something's got to give on this, because he can't keep saying, smash the gangs, because because he's been saying that for several years now, and he's been in office for 12 months and nothing's happened.
I agree with you, and we're looking at the numbers that you produced at GB News exclusively. 1,200 yesterday. We're up 30% on last year, where we were last year. We're just approaching the summer when the seas are much calmer.
Yes.
And we're looking to surpass 50,000 for the year, which would be a record.
And we're paying the French police to do something about it. But again, if you look at this very dramatic double-page spread in the Mail, you see that, I mean, they're just standing there taking pictures with their phones of what's going on, and they're not stopping the dinghy taking off.
But there's fundamentally a problem in that migrants are arriving on the northern coast of France, and the French police are only if they're stopping the migrants leaving the northern coast of France, they're then creating a problem for themselves, because
yes,
then you have.
But we are paying them to stop them.
This country is in an invidious position when it comes to this crisis, and there's no easy solution to it. But the Prime Minister has, he's got a majority of 174 in the House of Commons, and if he's able to create some sort of deterrent, because ultimately the deportations have gone up, the number of migrants being deported out of this country has risen significantly under Labour, but the pull factor hasn't changed. So people are still seeing this country as a place where you can come and potentially either remain here while you can remain here while your claim is being processed, and ultimately, when you are processing claims, a number of people have those claims successful. They are successful.
But the other issue that we've talked about for over the last few years is the fact that processing was very, very slow. It was taking a very, very long time. And the Home Office wasn't fit for purpose and all these sort of things, which Labour said they'd tackle. Well, has processing sped up?
The processing has sped up, and if you look at the way that the Tories introduced their legislation, there is merit to the claim that Labour has said, where it basically ground the system to a halt. So you had more and more people arriving in this country, the bill for hotels and accommodation rising, and no way to process these, and the claimants weren't being processed. Now the claims are being processed, and some people are getting the right to stay in this country, and deportations are going up. But the problem is fundamentally in the English Channel, because people are still coming to this country. If you're in number 10 and the fairy godmother turned up and said, I can sort you one problem, any of the problems that you face, it would be this one. This is the problem that there is a solution, but the Prime Minister's not willing to countenance it, because he says he needs those treaties with other countries.
Well, it defeated Rishi Sunak, didn't it? Any Prime Minister who says, I will do something about this, needs to do something about it.
And you raise a very good point there, Anne, in that Rishi Sunak made a big play about it. Boris Johnson made a big play about it. This is something we need to tackle. Keir Starmer has done exactly the same thing, but ultimately the British public want this problem to be tackled. 67% of immigration is the top issue for 67% of voters.
Yeah, it's part of the issue. I'm sort of reluctant to say it, but he's always banging on about closer ties with the EU.
Yeah.
Is that could that be part of the solution in terms of the Dublin 2.0 or whatever, because it was pulling out of that Dublin agreement, which obviously has led to a lot of the problems in that we can't send people back. We don't have that returns agreement in place. So it is a sort of consequence of Brexit. So could a better relationship with the EU mean that actually we could get ourselves back into the Dublin Accords?
But if I remember correctly, and I'm trying to think, draw my encyclopedic knowledge of all things immigration policy, but if I remember correctly, before the election, when Keir Starmer, he said he'd do exactly that. The Tories made the point that actually if you enter into that agreement and then you portion out the number of migrants arriving in the EU, and then you say to Britain, right, you take your percentage, the percentage actually works out at about 100,000.
Right.
That would be up to 100,000 migrants would arrive in this country. So you could end up with migrants arriving in Spain or France, and then portioned out, and they would arrive in Britain, and we'd end up taking more. And the system is under incredible strain. This is a problem that's blighting. This is the problem why you're seeing Giorgia Meloni taking power in Italy. It's why we see the rise of right-wing politics in Germany and in France as well, and why we're seeing the rise of Nigel Farage's Reform Party.
Well, that's right. It's changing the mood of the country. Pictures like this are having an effect. I mean, if you listen to any radio programme or watch any television programme now that talks about these things, you can feel a change in the narrative, even from people who a year ago wouldn't have agreed with reform. They're sort of starting to speak that language, aren't they?
The problem with this particular issue for the Prime Minister is that it actually makes reasonable people look at the migration problem. People who would never actually countenance it and say, "Hang on a moment, this isn't what I voted. This isn't what I want to see. This isn't what I expect my government to be doing in the way they're dealing with it when they look at these photographs." And actually, a lot of people recognise that we should play a role in supporting countries around the world. They want Britain to do exactly that. What they don't want is they don't want us to be taken for a soft touch.
Yeah. Well, that's it. That's the line, isn't it? It's not that you don't want to do your part. It's just you don't want to be taken advantage of.
And those pictures that we're showing at the moment of, the border force boats couldn't cope. They had to ask Lifeboat to help. Yeah. There just wasn't room for all those migrants coming across the channel. And then you have illegal migrants.
And then this is the report in the Sunday Telegraph. You've got the overwhelmed Coast Guards forced to call on fishing crews to do the rescues. So actually, it should be the Coast Guards who are able to go. Especially with the sunny weather, you're going to have people getting into trouble in the sea, whether it's children at the beach or going fishing or surfing or whatever it might be. And the Coast Guard should be there to support them and help them and intervene very quickly. But according to the Telegraph here, that actually the Coast Guards are now having to ask fishing crews in local towns up and down the coast to intervene because they haven't got the resources to do it.
Mad.
And so ironically, on the day that we were celebrating the Dunkirk evacuation with all the little boats.
Yes, absolutely.
It just seemed so unbelievably poignant yesterday.
Yeah. All right, Theo, we'll see you later. Thank you. The Home Office has told us that they want... Here you go. There's nothing new in this reply, I've got to tell you. They want to end dangerous small boat crossings which threaten lives and undermine border security, and will stop at nothing to dismantle their business models and bring them to justice.
They added that the government has put together a serious plan to take down these networks at every stage, and that they are strengthening international partnerships and boosting the ability to identify, disrupt and dismantle criminal gangs.
Yes, I just don't know if you can believe that. Actually, when you see pictures in the papers, as you pointed out, Anne, of the French police just stood on the beach waving them off. Frankly, how is that dismantling the criminal gangs? They literally got sight of them just taking video on their phones. Anyway, our poll of the day today is asking whether Britain should declare a national border emergency. If we did, what impact would it have? I don't know what sort of new rules it would bring in.
Would that bring in the armed forces?
I don't know what it would do.
The Navy.
That's the thing, I'm not sure. Anyway, we'll have the final result in Nana's show. If you'd like to take part, gbnews.com/poll.
Now, 2 NHS health boards in Scotland have begun trialling the early detection of cancer and head trauma using AI.
Our Scotland reporter Tony Maguire has been finding out how the NHS plans to keep tabs on the new technology.
2 of Glasgow's busiest health boards, NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde and NHS Lothian, are taking part in a £1 million project to evaluate the use of artificial intelligence in healthcare. It hopes to accelerate AI in Scottish hospitals to improve patient outcomes with faster diagnoses of lung cancer and strokes. Dr Mark Hall, consultant radiologist at Glasgow's Queen Elizabeth University Hospital, says it'll help redirect medical attention to the cases that need it most.
We've had patients in the past couple of weeks where we've had a CT scan done 1 or 2 days after the chest x-ray's been done, and they've started down that lung cancer pathway within 1 or 2 days of seeing the GP. Prior to this coming in, some of these patients were waiting 8 weeks to get that journey started. So AI really helps us reshuffle the pack and prioritise.
Artificial intelligence can't go unchecked, so evaluation company Aval oversees its application, ensuring global datasets remain consistent for use on British patients, and AI drift doesn't diminish its effectiveness. Aval founder and CEO Kanwal Bhatia says human lives are at stake, and AI can aid a heavily burdened NHS.
Our healthcare system is under strain. We have a shortage of radiologists globally, and so by testing these products fast but also thoroughly, we can help bring the benefits of AI to patients much quicker.
Depending on its application, the public is yet to render its verdict on the benefits of AI. But when it comes to better health, Glaswegians are largely on board.
If it makes things more efficient, I'm all for it. If it makes people healthier, I'm all for it.
Some extremes I do think it's okay, but in others, what are they doing with the details? And the way AI's gone now, anybody will be able to log into them. So where's the privacy in it?
I think for like the health matter, it's really good, really important, because they seem to be doing a lot more than what the science has been doing for a long time.
AI products take 9 months to validate, and with more than 200 available to a single hospital department, few trials provide real-world solutions. NHS Scotland hopes AVAL's validation project opens the way, cutting costs and redistributing resources to save lives. Tony Maguire, GB News, Glasgow.
That will be really interesting to see how that does make a difference, won't it? Both to health outcomes, but particularly to waiting lists.
Yes, it's how much you trust it. Well, I suppose you can trust it as much as...
Well, as long as you're treating it like an assistant, yeah. And it helps speed things up.
I think it's the
Could
way...
be very good.
It's the way it's going. We're going to have to get our heads around it, I think. It's 6:20. Let's have a look at some of the other stories. And the Defence Secretary John Healey is unveiling plans to spend £1.5 billion on increasing Britain's production of munitions. It'll be revealed tomorrow. It's also expected plans for 6 new bomb factories will be announced as ministers publish their strategic defence review. It's understood the government want to aim for an always-on approach to defence, meaning we're constantly ready for war.
The Shadow Justice Secretary, Robert Jenrick, has issued calls for prison officers to be armed with lethal weapons to crack down on Islamist terrorists in jail. The plan follows a series of recommendations by counter-extremism expert and former prison governor Ian Acheson. Is it Acheson, I think, following several attacks on prison officers in jails. But a Ministry of Justice source has hit out at the plan, saying the Conservatives are now the arsonists pretending to be firefighters.
Paris Saint-Germain have won the UEFA Champions League final against Inter Milan in Munich. 5-0, actually. Biggest ever victory in a Champions League final. But after the match, violence and rioting broke out. Despite over 5,000 police officers being deployed to control crowds, 130 arrests were made.
The ban on the sale of single-use disposable vapes has now officially come into force across the UK. It means that shops and supermarkets will no longer be able to stock them, but they can still sell rechargeable or refillable devices. Retailers in England and Wales breaching the ban face a £200 fine for the first offence, with potentially unlimited fines or jail for those who repeatedly reoffend.
As you say, I'm slightly concerned over this lethal weapons being held by prison officers.
Yeah.
I mean, something... Because with all these scenarios, you sort of think it doesn't take much for an inmate, if there was trouble, for an inmate to get hold of that weapon.
That's the British argument against it, isn't it? I mean, in America, they wouldn't...
But do prison officers armed
I think they are. Or at least they can be very quickly.
To be able to do it quickly may be one thing, but if you're walking about with it, I don't know. I just wonder how many prison officers would end up getting shot by their own weapons.
I wonder what the prison officers think, but they do need better protection, don't they?
They do need a lot better protection. They do. I mean, no doubt about that whatsoever. I'm just not sure that carrying guns...
Well, that's always the argument that we use against, carrying a knife with you for protection.
Well,
You're more likely to be stabbed by your own knife in the end, aren't you?
Yeah.
Somebody gets hold of it and uses it on you. That's what we're always told.
Oh, well, let us know what you think about that one. In the meantime, it's hopefully going to be a nice day. Here's Catherine.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, it's a showery start to meteorological summer, windy in the northwest, but still pleasantly warm in the south and east. So a fresher start across the southern parts of England, but a bright start across Scotland and Northern Ireland. A damp start here with heavy spells of rain that could be thundery. That swiftly moves its way eastwards, affecting much of northern England with showery outbreaks, then running into parts of Wales. That tends to break up. Then it'll be a case of sunny spells, scattered showers, but some strong winds, especially across the northwest of Scotland. Feeling warm in that sunshine, but not as mild and humid as recent days. So as we go through Sunday evening, like I said, some strong gusty winds coming down from the northwest across northwestern parts of Scotland. Elsewhere, showery outbreaks of rain. Turning a little bit dry across Northern Ireland later with some late evening sunny spells. Drier picture for northern England as we end Sunday. Elsewhere, a mixture of scattering of showers and some late evening sunshine. So as we go through the rest of Sunday evening, we actually have a ridge of higher pressure building in. So most of the showers will start easing as we go through the evening and overnight. A few showers may develop though still across western parts of Scotland, but otherwise plenty of clear spells. Temperatures ranging from 8 to 11 degrees, but could feel a little bit chilly in the countryside, especially in the north. So for many, Monday starts fine, dry and bright. Plenty of sunshine on offer, and it stays that way through much of the day. Some showers will bubble up, but the sunshine will be turning increasingly hazy across Northern Ireland and Scotland, with the winds increasing here too, ahead of the next area of low pressure. So cool in the north, but in the sunshine, highs of up to 22 degrees. Bye-bye for now.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. Maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
What is the state of our economy? What is the state of our National Health Service? What is the state of our schools?
What on earth is going on?
Understanding Britain means understanding the state we are in. This is State of the Nation with me, Matt Goodwin, Wednesdays, Thursdays and Fridays from 8 p.m. on GB News.
6:29. Now, research suggests that a new combination of 3 drugs could help women with a common but aggressive form of breast cancer and, in fact, delay the need for chemotherapy.
They're making amazing breakthroughs all the time, aren't they? Let's talk to former chief of the World Health Organization's cancer programme and oncologist, Dr. Carol Sikora. A very good morning to you. It's lovely to see you. Yeah, this is astonishing. I mean, every day it's almost as though we read that, you know, things are moving forward in the detection, early treatment of cancer. Can you try and explain, in a way that we will understand, what this latest thing is?
This is pretty complex, but breast cancer is a very difficult disease to treat. And what we've understood is that different women respond better to different treatments. This is a new drug. It's licensed in Europe, and you can have it in Britain. The problem is how to use it in which patients. So the discovery is that by combining it with 2 other drugs, in certain women, about 60% of women with breast cancer that spread, it can actually be effective in delaying the growth of that cancer. And there's a big meeting in Chicago this weekend called the American Society of Clinical Oncology, and the world is filled with cancer news stories at the moment, just this weekend. But it does show really steady progress in this whole area. And the progress is coming from exactly this type of discovery, which is personalization of drug use. So Mrs. Jones and Mrs. Smith both have the same breast cancer, but they get totally different treatments. And the treatments designed specially for each individual. That's going to be the future.
But when you say it delays the growth of the tumour, where does that mean it's easier to remove, or it's not destroying the tumour then?
It's not curative. It just delays the onset of the growth of the cancer. The next step will be find ways to use the drug to actually stop the cells growing forever and actually curing the cancer. That's been the history of treatment of cancer. We've seen progress where we delay the growth and then eventually we find treatments that actually cure. If we look at Hodgkin's disease, testicular cancer in young men, many blood cancers, leukemia in children and so on, 50 years ago, they were a death sentence. Now, nearly 98% of patients with those diseases live to go on for a long life and don't get troubled by the disease again. So progress in cancer, I've been a consultant a long time because I'm an old man. And when I look back on it, you don't see the change with time. You just don't notice it. But it's there. When I began as a consultant in the NHS, about 1/3 of patients with cancer were cured. Now it's over 50%. And one would predict from this sort of thing that within another decade, it'll be 60%, and it'll go up steadily, and you won't even notice it happening. And that's progress for you in medicine.
I tell you what, though, you notice it happening if you're the patient and suddenly it's not the death sentence the diagnosis once was, as you just said. But also, I mean, there are all sorts of treatments that hopefully you'll be able to access. Is this one being trialled, or has it already been trialled and is now being rolled out?
This was the report on the trial. It was a randomized study which was positive, and treatments will be now rolled out across Britain and indeed across the world. The drug is expensive. Inosib costs about £15,000 a month for 28 tablets, and that's one of the problems we've got in this whole business. No healthcare system can afford that sort of price, especially if there are multiple different types of tablet to give. It's a real problem for the future. We've got to either get the price of the drugs down or look at ways of even better targeting the drugs to patients that would benefit and not giving them to patients that don't benefit. And that's the encouraging thing here. You have to have a blood test to show that you have the abnormal gene in the cancer before you give the drug, because otherwise it won't work. It'd be a waste of time for anyone taking it. So personalization actually reduces costs, because the diagnostic test, the blood tests are very cheap, but the drugs are very expensive.
OK, Carol, good to see you, as always. Thank you very much indeed. It's positive news. I don't know what you do about the prices of things. I mean, the more they're used, the more the prices come down. But at the
Yes.
minute, it's 500 quid a tablet.
But as he was saying, if you can maybe use AI in identifying which patients would benefit and which wouldn't, then you're not going to waste the money on patients who wouldn't benefit from that particular drug anyway.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. If you are one of those patients, you're going to say, "Well, I've paid my dues, you know, into the system. Sort me out, whatever the cost, aren't you?" I mean, of course you are.
And of course, we were reading yesterday, weren't they, that the weight loss jabs now are showing remarkable changes in or effects on the rates of cancer.
And Alzheimer's.
And Alzheimer's, yeah. I mean, that's almost reason enough to take the jab, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's astonishing. And that's an accidental one. There are occasionally we hear of, you know, accidental side effects that... Because the weight loss jabs were originally...
Type 2 diabetes, yeah. Yes, anyway. Oh, well, there's a lot to stay hopeful for, which is a good thing.
It's nice to have some good news.
It is, isn't it? Well, I'll tell you what's good news. There is still time to enter the Great British Giveaway for our biggest ever prize, that motorhome worth more than £67,000, plus £5,000 in cash in your pocket as well. But you've got less than a week to go. Here's how you enter.
It's the final week to see how you could be our biggest winner yet.
Driving away in this Elnag Baron 560 motorhome, courtesy of Marquis Leisure. It has plenty of room for your family of 4. Comes complete with kitchen, bathroom and all the space you'll need for life on the road. And the best news? You can drive it on your existing driving licence. Plus, we'll also give you a further £5,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. Don't delay. You can't win if you're not in the draw. For another chance to win the lot, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry starts at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB13 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 6th of June. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
This motorhome and £5,000 in cash really could be yours. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck. And by the way, thank you to everybody who got in touch yesterday saying that if they win it, they'll let you drive it a bit.
Thank you.
Not completely.
Well,
but...
someone did say they'd sell it to me for £50,000.
Yes, which I thought was very generous.
Well, it's a good discount. It's a good discount. Thank you. But no, lots of people said I could borrow it.
Yeah.
Which is very kind, and I will take you up on that.
Yeah.
Have no fear.
You may never get it back.
I'll make sure it's nice and tidy.
Well, can I just mention your brooch?
Oh, yes.
I mean, is that what you call it if a man wears it?
A brooch, I think so.
Still a brooch.
They're advertised as men's brooches.
You wore one yesterday. It was a different one. So is this the latest trend?
It is the latest trend. All the celebs are doing it. And gentlemen of my age as well. So it's like, why not?
No, I totally agree.
So it is. I know
it's a bit autumnal, that.
This is
quite
autumnal.
The 1st of June.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
But it's very, very pretty.
But it's
gold, rose gold, and silver.
White gold.
White gold. Oh.
Thank you very much.
Wow.
But it's if you do search, they are men's brooches. I mean, it's like saying men's perfume is aftershave, isn't it? I mean,
yeah, I know, but that gives me ideas for Christmas presents.
I feel a bit bold doing it, but I think why not?
No, I think it's lovely, and it goes with the jacket.
Right, we've got the sport in just a moment. Aidan will have the latest on Paris Saint-Germain.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
So apparently, Harry has looked at the latest polls that put him down at 27%. And he seriously has. He's looked at them and he's upset by it. And he's realised, and this is a source really close to him, has told me that he's realised there's nowhere to go but up. So what he's done is he's decided, OK, what hasn't been working? And that's US sunshine sacks, kind of Hollywood PR agents, just anything Hollywood and American, basically, hasn't worked for him. What did work for him? When was he popular? When he was part of the royal household.
And he wasn't with Meghan.
Well, and that, but he's never going to admit that at this point. But anyway, so what he's done is he's set up around himself the exact thing that he's been railing against all these years, which is a really concrete, firm structure of a hierarchical, top-down kind of PR voices on his behalf, and chiefs of staff, and it's basically a royal household.
This is like a faux royal household. And it's interesting you say that Harry actually looks at these things. He looks at the comments, he reads the headlines, he looks at the poll figures. I've heard before that he used to scour Twitter under an anonymous username, looking for anything to do with comments to do with his name. Is that true?
That is true, although he does now, with this new structure, they actually protect him from reading the British tabloids. So they basically read on his behalf the British tabloids. Meghan does not at all read the British tabloids, nothing. She does not engage in British media whatsoever.
Right.
And she's shielded from that by this new household. And the point of the new household is this kind of shield around them that protects them, because they hated Kensington Palace, but thanks to Kensington Palace, they got away with murder on quite a lot of their behaviour. You know, and they were really protected by Kensington Palace, and they were pretty ungrateful at the time as well.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Aidan's here, and it was all action last night, wasn't it? Paris Saint-Germain did very well.
PSG, should we get...
PSG, yeah. But there was trouble afterwards as well. What
there was,
happened?
yeah. I mean, let's concentrate on the football first,
Yeah.
just because it was football from a different planet, quite frankly. I said yesterday I felt it was PSG's time.
Yeah.
Did I want
No,
to
you did.
early?
You did. No, quite right too.
There you go. It's been a while since I got one right.
we were going to say it, but you did very well, actually.
I was going to remind you. No, I did feel it was their time, and that's not to discredit Inter in any way, but Inter looked like an older side last night. They looked tired, and they looked distinctly second best. They were outclassed, quite frankly.
Well, they certainly were. What was the score?
5-0.
I mean,
5-0 to PSG. A couple of players who were 18 and 19 scored. That was the first time. One of them was Désiré Doué was the youngest goal scorer since 1995. And the level of the football, the ruthlessness, the fact they were 2-0 up inside the first 20 minutes of the match, that really set the tone. It caused Inter to start having to chase the game. And the movement. And it was such a departure as well. We talked yesterday, didn't we, about how a few years ago they ushered in this era of Galacticos. So they brought in Messi, Neymar, Mbappe, what was Mbappe thinking last night? He moved away from there last summer because he couldn't get the Champions League. He goes to Real Madrid and he sits around twiddling his thumbs last night, watching TV, wondering whether he could have been part of the side last night that dispatched Inter Milan so ruthlessly. And then you look at the players, and the average age of the squad is 25 years and 96 days. Now, that means they're going to be around for a long time. There's no limit to what these guys could achieve. And don't forget, they beat 4 Premier League sides on the way here. And the different style of the goals, the movement, just the fact that they outnumbered Inter Milan in every single area of the pitch. It was just a clinical dispatching and a masterclass. And I'm running out of superlatives to describe what I saw last night, because I thought it was really, really outstanding. I really did.
Let down by the fans afterwards.
Without doubt. I mean, look, there was... It's funny, earlier in the day, the tone was set for it. Cam Norrie, who we're going to come to in a bit, we said yesterday how close the Roland Garros is to Parc des Princes. Parc des Princes, PSG, at their home stadium, obviously the game was in Munich, but their home stadium, they put on a beamback so that people could watch it at the stadium, enjoy the atmosphere. Cam Norrie's match against fellow Brit Jacob Fernley was actually held up from the overhang of the fireworks from the neighbouring stand. So we'll come to that in a moment. But so the party was well underway. That was well before the match started. The match didn't start until 8 o'clock our time. This was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And so even at the final whistle last night, the Eiffel Tower was was lit up in red, the colours of red and blue. We're going to show the picture in a minute.
Yeah,
you can see it. It looked fantastic. And it just creates a carnival atmosphere. About 130 arrests. I think 5,400 police deployed to do that. I mean, yes, it's a big night for Paris, but goodness me, you've got to know your limits in terms of celebrations. I mean, I'd like to think it wouldn't happen in this country but then having said that, when England lost the Euros, it was in 2021, we can't be too high and mighty about it, can we?
No, we can't, no. Let's have a quick look at Jack Draper then and Cam Norrie. Yeah,
Cam Norrie, look, the top line is that on the men's side of the draw, we've not had two in the round of 16 before in the history of the French Open. That's how difficult clay is, and they're through now. Cam Norrie's going to face Novak Djokovic at some point tomorrow.
Woo.
Time to be determined, and Jack Draper was ruthless against one of the upcoming stars, João Fonseca. Straight sets as well. He's going to play Alexander Bublik tomorrow, and the row about the scheduling still goes on as well. We'll touch on that later on.
Lovely. Aidan, thank you.
Excellent. Yeah. And in a few moments, we're going to be going through the papers with Winston Davis and Emma Wolfe. But first, if you're in search of a little bit of holiday sun, here is the forecast for some of the top European hotspots.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, there's plenty of hot sunshine across most of the Mediterranean, but there are some thunderstorms in places, particularly in southern France. Across the Canary Islands and Madeira, though, there'll be this brisk northerly flow on Monday, bringing in quite a bit of cloud, but sunshine for southern parts of Spain. Here are those thunderstorms across the Alps, southern parts of France, but most of Italy, the Balkans and Greece and Turkey having plenty of hot sunshine and temperatures into the high 20s, and the outlook is for plenty more dry and settled weather.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel. Nigel is back.
Good evening.
Unfiltered.
Are these proposals bold enough?
Uncompromising.
Will it bring growth?
Unmissable.
We as a country are brilliant.
Nigel Farage returns this Tuesday from 7 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. That's State of the Nation every Monday and Tuesday at 8 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. Maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Time for the papers now with Winston Davis and Emma Wolfe. Good morning to you both. Emma, Sunday Telegraph. We've lost control of our borders, apparently.
I mean, is this a tipping point, a crossing point? Have we reached? I think the photograph on the front of the Sunday Telegraph, I would urge everyone to take a look at this, because I think it speaks for itself. I don't see a single woman or child on that boat.
It says it all, doesn't it?
20,
it really does.
I think it speaks for itself. I see 20 or 30 men, some of them with masks on their faces, one man smoking at the front there. I see the French border police standing there watching them, a couple of them taking photographs on their mobile phones. We have paid the French, over this 3-year deal, we've paid them, £480 million to do something. And even Labour supporters are now saying the French are not doing diddly squat. So, I mean, I don't know what more to say. The Prime Minister has lost control of the borders, They're very keen, and I know Winston will come on to this, but they're very keen to talk about defence. It's all going to be about defence this week and about the threat from Russia and nuclear threat. What about what about our borders? How can they stand there and talk to us about defence when we can't even secure our borders? This is now a joke.
I can see how passionate you are, Emma. I'm a little bit in disagreement with you. They've had no crossings for over a week. Clearly, this is pent-up demand. There has been an increase from last year. It's a 30% increase from last year. It's a few thousand more. But I don't actually even know how this even made it to the front page. A reason...
What?
Tell you, no, you know why? Because this. That only makes up 4% of migration. We've got nearly 1 million people coming into this country, and we're harping on about a few tens of thousands all the time. And actually, that's a tiny, tiny part of the migration that's come to this country. The rest of the migration is a far, far bigger problem. Yet, because this is politically charged, because it gets headlined, because you can see it, because you can make an image of it and talk about men and whatever else, that's why it's getting so much coverage. But actually, you've got millions, nearly 1 million people coming here last year, which was down hundreds of thousands from the year before.
Winston, with respect, do you know how many babies are born in this country every day?
No.
Approximately 1,600.
Right.
1,600 babies every day in this country. This is 1,200 men illegally entering our country yesterday. So that's almost double. I mean, that's a lot. I'm not saying it's going to be 1,200 every single day. Yes, it's fine weather. But do you see the scale that we're talking about? If it was 1,000 a day... If
but
it was
it's not
1,000 a
day.
week,
but it's not
this is not a legal way to enter a country.
But it's not 1,000 a day.
When I go to France or Spain, when you go to America, do you go through border security? Do you go through border control? Do you show your passport?
100%. But Emma, we've had a conversation before about
this. This is not a legal route to enter our country.
I'm not in agreement with that at all. But the thing is this: these people are coming from war-torn countries that are getting pushed through for whatever reason. Would you get on a dinghy?
Would you get Emma?
Emma?
That's the big lie.
Would you get on that dinghy?
They are not fleeing. They are not all fleeing.
Would you get on that dinghy?
I wouldn't.
Of course you wouldn't. None of us would risk our lives to go on one of them.
I wouldn't try to enter a country
None
illegally.
of us would do that, Emma.
No, I'm afraid that's the big lie. Yes, there are some people who are fleeing persecution. I wouldn't get on that for 5 minutes. If they're fleeing their war-torn country, where are their wives and children? Why have they left their families behind?
Well, they're fleeing France, is what they're fleeing.
They've come through many safe countries on their way. No one has stopped them. If, of course, we are a sanctuary, we are a welcoming country to people who are in genuine peril or in war-torn countries, and we welcome them to this country. There are legal routes for that, and there are ways to apply. This way of entering our country is not legal, and it is not acceptable.
And I'm not saying, like I said to you, I'm not agreeing with it. I'm not saying it's a great thing, but I'm saying to you that, and to the percentage of what we're dealing with, this is a small, small part of it.
But that's kind of irrelevant. It's still happening.
But it gets on our front pages all the time.
Yeah, but we don't see
still need
legal migration.
We need to tackle the
We don't see it, but this is an image that is what a lot of people are frightened of.
But there it is, Anne, it's fear. It's creating
But it
fear.
could be justified fear, couldn't it?
Listen, we need to solve it 100%. But what I'm saying is the focus of that deflects away from the real problems that we've got with migration.
Yeah, but that is a real problem. But I'm afraid that's whataboutery, because you're saying, well, what about that? Yeah, that needs to be sorted as well. But the government has failed on that as well. But there is fear. I'm sorry, I spoke to many older women, mums of girls, who say this kind of image absolutely terrifies them.
Yeah, we've had a couple of people already
get
in touch saying, please do something about this. That's fear. And I think it could be justified.
I'm not saying we don't do something about it, but what my point was right at the start was I don't understand how much it gets so much coverage.
OK.
We'll have to agree to
Well,
disagree.
sometimes a picture is better than 1,000 words, and that picture is astonishing.
Well,
It's emblematic of how we are not in control, how the promise to smash the gangs, all of that nonsense, the fact that the government has not really said anything about this.
No.
They're not responding, and people are concerned. And actually, if you had a teenage daughter, if you were a young woman, you would be terrified at those kind of images.
All right. Well, you two will agree to disagree on that one. Thank you. We'll see you a little bit later on. Time for the weather.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, it's a showery start to meteorological summer, windy in the northwest, but still pleasantly warm in the south and east. So a fresher start across the southern parts of England, but a bright start across Scotland and Northern Ireland. A damp start here with heavy spells of rain that could be thundery. That swiftly moves its way eastwards, affecting much of northern England with showery outbreaks, then running into parts of Wales. That tends to break up. Then it'll be a case of sunny spells, scattered showers, but some strong winds, especially across the northwest of Scotland. Feeling warm in that sunshine, but not as mild and humid as recent days. So as we go through Sunday evening, like I said, some strong gusty winds coming down from the northwest across northwestern parts of Scotland. Elsewhere, showery outbreaks of rain. Turning a little bit dry across Northern Ireland later with some late evening sunny spells. Drier picture for northern England as we end Sunday. Elsewhere, a mixture of scattering of showers and some late evening sunshine. So as we go through the rest of Sunday evening, we actually have a ridge of higher pressure building in. So most of the showers will start easing as we go through the evening and overnight. A few showers may develop though still across western parts of Scotland, but otherwise plenty of clear spells. Temperatures ranging from 8 to 11 degrees, but could feel a little bit chilly in the countryside, especially in the north. So for many, Monday starts fine, dry and bright. Plenty of sunshine on offer, and it stays that way through much of the day. Some showers will bubble up, but the sunshine will be turning increasingly hazy across Northern Ireland and Scotland, with the winds increasing here too, ahead of the next area of low pressure. So cool in the north, but in the sunshine, highs of up to 22 degrees. Bye-bye for now.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed Home Battery Storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you could be our biggest winner yet, touring in this stylish Elnag Baron 560 motorhome. This brand new 2025 model comes complete with kitchen and bathroom areas and enough space to comfortably sleep a family of 4. We'll also give you a further £5,000 in tax-free cash to add a few of your favourite things. Don't miss out as lines close on the 6th of June. For another chance to win the lot, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB13 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 6th of June. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. That's State of the Nation every Monday and Tuesday at 8 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. GB News can exclusively reveal that almost 1,200 migrants crossed the Channel yesterday. It's a brand new record, with border officials forced to call on fishing boats for assistance.
The government lost control of the borders. I'm determined that we'll retake control of the borders.
But with action promised and the crisis worsening, when will Britain see the results?
Well, the promise of the government to smash the gangs is looking a bit hollow this morning. The fact is, we have never had so many people in a single day at this early point in the year. We're over 40% ahead of where we were last year.
Biggest increase in defence spending for this country since the end of the Cold War.
Defence Secretary John Healey says there is no doubt the UK will spend 3% of GDP on defence at some point in the next Parliament. But with the nation's finances already stretched, will we see further benefits and public services slashed to fund the boost?
Prince Harry reportedly sought advice from Princess Diana's brother about changing his own family name to Spencer. According to the Daily Mail, he discussed the issue with Earl Spencer, but was told that legal hurdles would be insurmountable.
It is, first and foremost, a punishment.
Well, that's the Justice Secretary. Stating the obvious, really, but is it time to take punishment one step further and ban Britain's most dangerous prisoners from receiving money from their family? We'll talk to Anne Widdecombe about that later.
France is set to ban smoking in public areas frequented by children. So should Britain follow suit and stub out smoking of all types in all public spaces?
And believe it or not, it's summer today, or at least meteorologically speaking. But as the countdown to barbecues and beach trips begins, is it going to live up to expectations, or are we going to be disappointed?
In the past couple of weeks, where we've had a CT scan done 1 or 2 days after the chest X-ray's been done, and they've started down that lung cancer pathway within 1 or 2 days of seeing the GP.
And that's the power of AI in the NHS, with Scotland trialling early cancer and head trauma detection. It's hoped that that will cut waiting times from weeks to minutes. Is this the transformation we need to slash waiting times?
Well, there you go. It was a bit of a shocker for Doctor Who fans last night. Ncuti Gatwa finishing his time in the TARDIS. Billy Piper appearing in his place. What does all that mean? Stephanie Tecci will be in the studio later.
They were magnifique in Munich. Paris Saint-Germain end their agonising wait for a Champions League triumph
with a record-breaking 5-0 win over Inter at the Allianz Arena. And at the French Open tennis, 2 British men make it through to the round of 16 for the first time ever.
Well, it's the start of meteorological summer, but has the weather got the memo? I'll have all of the details coming up shortly.
Just gone 7 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
And I'm Anne Diamond, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Slightly worried. I don't know what this is. This is the health, wealth and holidays section of some paper.
It's the Mail or the
Is it
Express?
the Mail? I don't know. On about fat jabs. From this month, GPs will be able to offer fat jabs for free on the NHS. Will you be eligible? I don't know if I think it's a good thing or not.
And there are other headlines saying people who really need it on the NHS are going to face a long waiting line for it because it's just not there available.
See, the problem is, it's if you really need to lose weight and this will help, then it's great. I think it's great and it'll get you on the right path. The problem is far too many people who don't need it are taking it.
Yes.
And I'd be guilty of it. I'm so tempted because I need to lose a few more pounds, and I'm thinking maybe this will make it easier.
There is nothing left of you.
No, but I do. You know,
it's a mental thing.
Yeah, I think it probably is. I've always, I've always struggled and think I need to lose more weight. But you see, I'm the type who would go and has been tempted to say, I'll just get online and I'll order one and I'll try it. I'll try it. But it's actually would not be a healthy thing for me to do.
I've seen you in the gym at Sky.
Except that they're beginning to find that it helps fight dementia and cancer.
Yeah.
And for that reason alone, wouldn't you be tempted to take it?
Yeah, but what else is it doing to you? That's the other
Well,
thing.
I don't know.
I don't know.
No, we don't know.
Plus, you tend to feel quite sick on it.
You
but
can,
I don't know.
yes, but you have to get. That's why it's useful to do it with a doctor rather than just off the internet, because you need a bit of advice on trying to get just the right amount so that you lose the craving, and it also stops people craving alcohol as well. Apparently,
is that right?
I mean, it sounds like a wonder drug, but. Yeah, it does. I mean, everybody I know who's taken it before, it makes them feel so sick.
Yeah.
One of my friends says that's why you lose weight. You just feel sick all the time, and that gets you very low.
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't. It's just one of those things because I know I'm tempted by it, I shouldn't be taking it. I shouldn't be taking it.
Well, we're used to needles as well, aren't we?
And we're used to needles. Yeah, it wouldn't bother us that way.
But what would your doctor say? I mean,
doctors wouldn't let you do it. No,
being diabetic type 1, would they say this is good for you or not?
No. Your weight, I suppose, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it just depends on your weight.
Yeah.
I'm not fat enough to take
Anyway, if you're watching or listening at the moment and maybe you've tried it, how did you get on with one of these weight loss jabs? Love to hear your story.
Right, GB News can exclusively reveal the full scale of the crisis in the Channel, with a maritime security source telling us that both French and British border controls are now completely overwhelmed.
Yesterday alone, almost 1,200 migrants crossed the Channel, marking the highest daily total ever recorded, 43% higher than this very time last year.
And it also means that British and French lifeboats and fishing vessels had to step in because official resources buckled under the pressure.
Well, let's get more with our Home and Security editor, Mark White. Morning, Mark. This is remarkable. We don't know whether there was something extraordinary about yesterday or whether it's going to happen again today with those numbers.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely astonishing scenes. As I explained to you, really, what happened yesterday, I want to show you, first of all, images from our friends at the Press Association who were on the other side of the Channel and filmed as dozens, hundreds of migrants clambered aboard these boats on the beaches of France. You can see them there heading out. This is not far from Dunkirk, between Calais and Dunkirk. And they're waiting for what they call a taxi boat. So the boats come up from further down the coast. They come in to the shallow waters and people just wade out to those small boats. And you can see that boat there absolutely packed to the gunwales. 18 small boats made the crossing yesterday with an average of more than 65 people on board each of these boats. Now, you may ask, where on earth are the French police that we're paying £500 million in assistance to step up their security? Well, there were some French police, but they were effectively standing by and documenting what we're seeing. They are in vehicles just further up the beach, taking pictures and really just watching what is unfolding here in France. It is absolutely extraordinary, and because so many people were crossing from France to the UK, it completely, for a while, overwhelmed the ability of border patrol vessels in France and the UK to cope with this. They had to call in the assistance of lifeboats from France and lifeboats from the UK to help as well. And in addition to that, they were so overwhelmed at a time. There were emergencies, as is normal on a sort of a sunny day in the Channel, that were coming into the Coast Guard. A yacht that had got into trouble, that was taking in water, kayaks that had got into trouble. The Coast Guard had to call in the assistance of local fishing boats to help those stricken vessels until they could redeploy their maritime assets to get there, because they were all tied up dealing with the spectacle here of the thousands of migrants crossing. And our producer now in Kent estimates that the number who crossed yesterday was just shy of 1,200. I want to show you some more video now that this was taken by our producer on the other side of the Channel, that starkly illustrates what the authorities were up against. You see a lifeboat, that's the Dungeness lifeboat, coming in to the harbour at Dover to the migrant processing centre, but it was lifeboat after border force vessel after lifeboat. Our producer said he had never seen anything like it. There were back-to-back arrivals, and at one point they were all stacked at the entrance to the harbour. They couldn't get in. And you asked in your introduction, Anne, what was at play here. Well, it was because we had a break in the weather. We had a week of not very good weather where these small boats could not get across the English Channel because it just wasn't passable with the winds whipping up the waves. So anytime the weather improves, this is what we see. But the important thing to get out and across about this is the government has been telling us about their programme to smash the gangs, and they've shown us successes that they've had to arrest suspected people smugglers and to dismantle supply lines. But the thing about the improvement in the weather is, you know, it shines a light on those efforts in the most extraordinary way, because we see that those efforts actually in the round are making no difference really at all. These are the images I was talking about before of the vessels just queuing up at the entrance to Dover Harbour, the most extraordinary scenes. And if that effort to smash the gangs really was coming up with the results and paying dividends, it would not matter that we're having a run of good weather days. You just wouldn't see the same kind of numbers crossing, because the people smuggling gangs have been smashed and dismantled and would find it far more difficult to get the boats across there. And I think just a final point on this. The really worrying thing about what we saw yesterday is this is just the end of May. We don't normally see in a year occasionally numbers touching 1,000 until much later in the year, the very height of summer, sort of August time, when you're guaranteed a big run of flat calm conditions. And then you can see some days you might get up to 1,000. Well, this was almost 1,200 yesterday. And so early on in the season, it is, I think, you know, a portent of what we can expect going into the summer properly.
OK, Mark, for now, thank you. Let's talk to political commentator Theo Usherwood. It's like the government's playing a game of whack-a-mole here and telling us, oh, we will win, we definitely will win. Clearly nothing is happening.
If you speak to those who've worked at the sharp end of what Mark is describing in his excellent reporting. You've had a producer down in on the Kent coast. If you speak to those at the sharp end, you're talking to people like Tony Smith, former Border Force commander over in Calais. They all say the same thing. You can't just solve this problem by smashing the gangs, because as long as you've got the demand, then another gang is going to come through, and another gang, and another gang. Once you arrest people and put people away, there's always going to be a replacement as long as the demand is there. You have to deal, their opinion, and their expert opinion, because they've been at the front line, with the demand. So you have to stop the trade. And if you manage to stop the trade and you can stop the crossings, because people who arrive in this country are immediately, there is a deterrent, and you would think the obvious one, and that's why the Conservatives thought of it, was Rwanda. Nigel Farage has said at the beginning of last week about being taken, not even being allowed to land in this country. You'd have to go to an offshore processing centre. Then that removes any interest somebody might have in coming to this country. And then you can get order on the situation. And then once you have that, you can then create a system whereby actually the British public will say, OK, that's reasonable, that sounds fair. But to what you were saying earlier, Anne, when your viewers watch these pictures, they see what's happening in the English Channel, they are naturally worried. I'm not saying the people who are crossing the Channel are criminals. I'm just saying we don't know who they are. We don't know. They often will come over undocumented. They'll come without their passports. We don't necessarily have the intelligence sharing with the countries of their countries of origin.
So we don't know young men.
There were, and I also saw some pictures from the Press Association, and you can see them there of women and children as well. There is that particular photograph on the front page of the Sunday Telegraph, granted that they are all young men in that picture.
But why, given that they are coming here illegally, and it couldn't be plainer to see, why aren't we treating them like criminals?
Well, there isn't the capacity within the system. And there's something like, I think, 1,700 detention places. We're talking, you had 1,200 arriving, your producer counted, arriving yesterday alone. There simply isn't the capacity within the prison system. There isn't the ability, we looked at, I think even the last government set something up in Manston, which was overrun and soon started festering diseases. There isn't, so therefore these people go into houses of multiple occupancy and hotels.
I mean, the issue with this is, just briefly, Theo, is that people will look at this and say, that's enough now. Urgent action is needed, and this whole smash the gangs rhetoric is not urgent action. Even if it worked, it's not urgent action.
Completely agree, 100%. I think anybody, I don't even think necessarily if you're on the right, if your views are on the right, you're looking at this particular issue and saying, this is an issue, this is something which is enough. But the problem is that for Keir Starmer, and we've been talking about Lord Hermer as Attorney General, they're not willing to countenance changing the law in a way that would allow them to implement a scheme like Rwanda. They want to go through the official way of doing it, remaining part of international treaties, remaining part of the ECHR, and then setting up return agreements, either with, obviously they've got the countries of origin, but then with countries in Eastern Europe and the Balkans, where they could have potentially return hubs, and people would go to those. But we saw it, those treaties are very difficult to negotiate. He went all the way to Albania, stood on a podium with the Albanian Prime Minister, and the Albanian Prime Minister said, no, I'm speaking to Giorgia Meloni, not with me, thanks. So it will take time as well, but ultimately this is only, it feels like every Sunday or even every day of the week when you get these photographs, it's just an advert for Nigel Farage and reform, because he's saying he's offering a different alternative that the Prime Minister is not willing to countenance.
Yeah, we all know it, and we're watching the pictures still of all of these people arriving, and nothing seems to be happening.
And it's just worth mentioning they're victims, regardless of what your view is of this trade. These are people who've left their country to come to this country. It is not, they are victims of human trafficking at the very least.
OK, Theo, thank you.
Yeah, and I suppose the business model must be good because they keep doing it, don't they, the smugglers? If that's what they are, people smugglers. Anyway, look, we've got to read this out. I don't think you'll be very impressed by it generally, but it's a Home Office statement. They told GB News that they want to end dangerous small boat crossings, which threaten lives and undermine border security, and will stop at nothing to dismantle their business models and bring them to justice. Impressive, huh?
Oh, it's all good. So fair enough saying it.
Good words.
We need to see something
But that's all they are.
17 minutes past 7. The Defence Secretary, John Healey, will tomorrow unveil plans to spend £1.5 billion increasing Britain's productions of munitions. It's also expected that plans for 6 new bomb factories will be announced as part of that. It's all in the Strategic Defence Review, apparently. Quite well we're getting a preview of that, is anyone's guess. It's understood the government want to aim for an always-on approach to defence, meaning Britain is always ready for war.
The Shadow Justice Secretary, Robert Jenrick, has issued calls for prison officers to be armed with lethal weapons to crack down on Islamist terrorists in jail. The plan follows a series of recommendations by counter-extremism experts and former prison governor Ian Aitchison, following several attacks, terrible attacks on prison officers in jail. But a Ministry of Justice source has hit out at the plans, saying the Conservatives are now the arsonists pretending to be the firefighters.
And whilst there was a great result for Paris Saint-Germain in the UEFA Champions League, 5-0 against Munich, there was trouble after the match. Violence and rioting broke out. 5,000 police officers were out to control the crowds. In the end, about 130 arrests were made.
The ban on the sale of single-use disposable vapes has now officially come into force across the UK, and that means that shops and supermarkets will no longer be able to stock them, but they can still sell rechargeable or refillable devices. Retailers in England and Wales breaching the ban will face a £200 fine for the first offence, with potentially unlimited fines or jail for those who repeatedly reoffend. I like that threatening jail. Where's the space in jail?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, mind you, selling a vape, they'll probably get 5 years.
Yeah, easily.
The way things are going at the minute. They'll be selling them under the counter, surely.
Well, they've got stock to get rid of.
Stock, you've got to get rid of it. I mean, I don't think that's unreasonable, so you've got to get rid of your stock.
Yeah, why not allow them to sell off their stock but not buy any more stock?
Yeah. Anyway, not that we're encouraging people to break the law.
No.
Because we're not, but, you know... Only saying what I would do if I was a storekeeper, which I'm not. Anyway, let's have a look at the weather for you. Here's Catherine.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, it's a showery start to meteorological summer, windy in the northwest, but still pleasantly warm in the south and east. So a fresher start across the southern parts of England, but a bright start across Scotland and Northern Ireland. A damp start here with heavy spells of rain that could be thundery. That swiftly moves its way eastwards, affecting much of northern England with showery outbreaks, then running into parts of Wales. That tends to break up. Then it'll be a case of sunny spells, scattered showers, but some strong winds, especially across the northwest of Scotland. Feeling warm in that sunshine, but not as mild and humid as recent days. So as we go through Sunday evening, like I said, some strong gusty winds coming down from the northwest across northwestern parts of Scotland. Elsewhere, showery outbreaks of rain. Turning a little bit dry across Northern Ireland later with some late evening sunny spells. Drier picture for northern England as we end Sunday. Elsewhere, a mixture of scattering of showers and some late evening sunshine. So as we go through the rest of Sunday evening, we actually have a ridge of higher pressure building in. Most of the showers will start easing as we go through the evening and overnight. A few showers may develop though still across western parts of Scotland, but otherwise plenty of clear spells. Temperatures ranging from 8 to 11 degrees, but could feel a little bit chilly in the countryside, especially in the north. So for many, Monday starts fine, dry and bright. Plenty of sunshine on offer, and it stays that way through much of the day. Some showers will bubble up, but the sunshine will be turning increasingly hazy across Northern Ireland and Scotland, with the winds increasing here too, ahead of the next area of low pressure. So cool in the north, but in the sunshine, highs of up to 22 degrees. Bye-bye for now.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Motorhome time. In fact, there's not much time left. Your chance to win the brand new motorhome worth over 67 grand and £5,000 of tax-free cash. Here's how to take part.
It's the final week to see how you could be our biggest winner yet.
Driving away in this Elnag Baron 560 motorhome, courtesy of Marquis Leisure. It has plenty of room for your family of 4. Comes complete with kitchen, bathroom and all the space you'll need for life on the road. And the best news? You can drive it on your existing driving licence. Plus, we'll also give you a further £5,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. Don't delay. You can't win if you're not in the draw. For another chance to win the lot, text WIN to 63222. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB13 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 6th of June. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
This motorhome and £5,000 in cash really could be yours. Good luck.
Yeah, still to come. Is it time to ban smoking in public places? France is doing it. We'll debate that next.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. I mean, maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
This must have been the most difficult time.
Yeah, for him, yeah, obviously. But I noticed there's no mention of the one that happened to me when I was a Top Gear presenter, when I ended up upside down in a ditch just outside Ormskirk and had to burrow my way out of the wreckage.
Gosh.
It was then taken to hospital, having been scalped with numerous injuries, and was told to keep quiet and not tell anybody about it. And get this, had to ride back from the hospital to my house on a motorcycle. They just keep quiet about it. And they just paid off the guy whose Lotus Classic car was completely written off in the accident.
Gosh.
And the only trace of this incident is on my Wikipedia page, where at the bottom it says, "We love getting together as presenters so we could have a good laugh about what Steve Berry had crashed that week. Jeremy Clarkson, having a good old laugh at my expense."
Well, Steve, I'm really sorry. I had no idea that had happened to you, and obviously,
No,
equally...
you know, nobody's got any idea what happened to me. They just had a good old laugh about it. I had to burrow my way out to that car like a badger. My hands were cut to shreds, and I had to ride home. Having been scalped, I had to have my scalp stapled back onto my head. They told me to shut up and keep quiet about it. And I got 6 grand. The problem for me is it's just dangerous. Once you start messing about with cars and motorbikes, it's just you're rolling the dice every single time you do it. And every so often it's going to come up snake eyes. And it did for Freddie. And I feel sorry for the lad. It's terrible what happened to him. But I'll tell you what, that £9 million must...
Well, it's a dangerous game, isn't it? Steve Berry, thanks indeed for joining us.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
1st of June it is today, and quite apart from being the start of meteorological summer.
That's it.
And the beginning of the month. It's also today is the day that they're banning the sale and supply of disposable vapes right across the UK.
Yes. Meanwhile, France has just announced plans to ban smoking in public places where children are present.
So this morning we're asking, is it time for Britain to follow suit and ban smoking in public? Funnily enough, I always thought it was more or less banned.
No, it's...
Because there are set-aside areas for smokers, and I didn't think generally you were
Yeah,
allowed...
you can do it walking down the street and
suppose you
things,
can.
can't you? Anyway, let's talk to lifestyle commentator Steve Miller and CEO of the Nighttime Industries Association, Michael Kill. Good to see you both this morning. Let's start with you, Michael. What do you make of this? Because, I guess part of it is down to what we consider public spaces. There's got to be some definition.
Yeah, and I think this all comes with the detail, as you can appreciate. We went through the process not too long ago where the government suggested that beer gardens and festivals and etc. would be encompassed within a ban, and the pushback on it was quite considerable. But without a doubt, I can see some very strong reasoning for some of these public spaces to have restrictions. But the question that we always get, not only from the industry but some of the broader sort of spectrum, is are we moving into this sort of nanny state, particularly as smoking is becoming a much more sort of it's a declining sort of habit alongside things like vertical drinking. So the question is this a necessary position to undertake in its full terms, in terms of complete ban publicly?
Sorry, I should know that term, but I don't. What's vertical drinking?
Vertical drinking is when people go into a bar, they just stand there and drink at the bar. So in the old days, there used to be a very simple way where people used to go out and the focus was purely drinking. Now what's happened is because people are more refined in their palate, they're more selective, there are longer drinks and people go and sit down and it's more of a habitually social environment that's undertaken. But that's been a shift. So it's not, they don't normally go out and have the house spirit or the house sort of drink. They would go out and ask for a specific brand and then go and sit with people. And it's a little bit more of a social experience rather than a drinking experience as such.
Oh, OK. Steve, what do you make of this? It's partly down to just we should have freedom of choice, shouldn't we?
No, ban it. It's called the death drug. It's called the death drug. That's what it is. And we have to remember, if you're on a beach or if you're in a park or if you're on a road near a school, the last thing you want is for children to be seeing people smoking and do whatever with the fags and stuff. So no, and we have to remember, I would say to parents, if you're a parent smoking in the house right now or smoking outside in front of your child, then how about, because they're probably going to copy you, how about thinking of your child with damaged lungs and potentially lung cancer? Do you know there was some research on this with babies as well in Canada? University of Montreal found that secondhand smoking, which is what we're talking about here, actually affected babies very badly in terms of creating asthma and breathing problems long term. The other thing, and I guess I'm a bit selfish, I don't want to have a meal with smoke blowing over me. I don't want to sit on a beach having a good time with smoke blowing over me. Yeah, and also, I just don't want my meal ruined.
But in things like that, it doesn't happen when you're out eating and things, though, does it, Stephen? And that's already been stopped.
I think you must go to very nice pubs with a lot of space, because I tell you now, there are pubs you go to with a pub garden and there is smoke around. And on a crowded beach when people are lighting up and blowing their smoke. And I'm probably one of the worst because I am an ex-smoker, so I'm very anti-smoking. But I think we have to come back to the reality of the crux here, which is smoking is a death drug. So why do we want to advertise a drug that kills to children and put babies at significant risk? That is the reality. So common sense says you don't do it, you ban it.
Michael?
It's an interesting point, and banning it is very different. And I've come back to the question. If you're talking about banning it in public spaces, then it's going to happen within houses and those personal environments where babies are probably even more prevalent. Within our industry, we work very hard to segregate any smoking areas. We went through the whole process many years ago for segregating into smoking areas. And I don't know what pub environments that you go into. The predominance of them work very hard to segregate between food and smoking, etc. One of the big questions I've got is, how do you enforce it? We've got a very challenging time. We can't even deal with petty crime at the moment. There's not enough police on the street. We're now talking about putting an enforcement proposition in around smoking. And I'm telling you now, as we've seen with illegal drugs, nitrous oxide that was banned in November last year, we still haven't got to a point where that's... So this zero tolerance piece just does not work in the public domain. People just don't adhere to it. And smoking is inherently in society for a long time. And I'm a non-smoker. I've never ever smoked. So what I would say to you is, I for one, I'm not, I don't like being around it, but that's a choice for me. And I decide not to go where those spaces are. So for me, I agree with you. The public domain side of things in some of these environments, schools, etc., makes absolute sense. But a complete ban, I think we're just moving into controlling society too much here.
Okay.
I don't care whether we're coming out with that. What you do is you shame them. You shame them into stopping smoking. You empower the public. You make it such an awful habit, and you empower the public to grant themselves permission to say, excuse me, you're smoking, you shouldn't be. Especially if that couple have got a newborn baby, or they're out for a meal, or they're out having some pleasure in a park, and also on a road next to a school. If I had a child, I do not want them picking up that habit. Why? Because it's a death drug.
All right. Steve Miller, Michael Kill, thank you both very much indeed.
Yeah, well, it's as you said at the very beginning of that, you've got to define what a public space is.
Yeah, you've got to define what it is. But the idea that, as will be the case in France, that you can't walk through a park and have a cigarette, I mean, I don't think that's really going to... That doesn't really impact anybody else.
Oh, it does. It impacts you, but I see...
Well, only if you're sort of sat next to someone on a bench and they're
just
fagging
walking
it
along,
away,
you can... I mean, the trouble is, well, you've been a smoker.
Yeah.
Aren't you very sensitive to smoke now yourself? You smell it.
Oh, it's disgusting. I hate the smell of it. I hate the smell of a cigarette.
I do, and it can spoil you just to walk in the park if somebody ahead of you is smoking.
Yeah, well, yes, but then...
There should be smoking areas.
Change your path and walk somewhere else.
Yeah, well, that's what you have to do. So you have to amend your behaviour because somebody's smoking.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
No, they should amend theirs, shouldn't they?
No, I think you should have freedom of choice to do what you want. But let us know what you think. We've got the sport with Aidan in just a minute. Don't go anywhere.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
What is the state of our economy? What is the state of our National Health Service? What is the state of our schools?
What on earth is going on?
Understanding Britain means understanding the state we're in. This is State of the Nation with me, Matt Goodwin, Wednesdays, Thursdays and Fridays from 8 p.m. on GB News.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I ever got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Aidan's got the sport. Morning.
Good morning. Lots of other sport going on above and beyond the Champions League last night, which we'll revisit next hour. But I want to touch on the tennis, kind of linked with the Champions League as well, because Cam Norrie was up against a fellow Brit yesterday, Jacob Fernley, and his match was actually disrupted by the fireworks next door to Roland Garros at Parc des Princes. That's PSG's home ground, and they showed the beanbag there, and 60,000 people piled in there to watch it.
Which means that they were still playing tennis in the dark.
No. This was.
The fireworks were in the daytime.
It was the noise. It was early evening, I think, and there was a real kind of everything got underway far earlier than it was planned to. But a little bit like the Tottenham Parade the other week, it started going off at about 12 o'clock, didn't it? And it wasn't scheduled to start till about 5:30. But nonetheless, a big day for Paris. But yeah, Cam Norrie. Look, we're seeing men's players progress in the French Open and on clay like we've never seen before. This is the first time we've seen two British players from the men's side or men's section get into the last 16, the round of 16. Cam Norrie will face Novak Djokovic. Now, this is after dispatching quite ruthlessly Jacob Fernley yesterday in straight sets. And he'll face Novak Djokovic tomorrow. That's going to be a huge test.
Yes, it will be.
Djokovic, probably not the player he was 2 or 3 years ago.
No, but...
he's got a fighting chance, I would say, Cam Norrie. Jack Draper was just phenomenal yesterday. João Fonseca, his opponent, a teenager from Brazil, is tipped to be one of the rising stars of the next year or two. And he just swatted him away. Probably befitting of the fact that he is a US Open semi-finalist. He's been progressing throughout the year, a couple of ATP tours. I did say several times over the last couple of months or so that I was excited about him. I think I was right to be, because he's up against, let me see the name of the guy, Alexander Bublik tomorrow, time to be confirmed. And if he gets into the quarter-final, then that's a real fillip for him, especially on that surface.
Let's have a quick look at the Spanish Grand Prix, should we? Because Lando Norris... It's a great British hope at the moment. He's missed out on pole.
He has missed out on pole, yeah, but let's not...
unfortunately, actually, because he was pretty good until the last lap.
He was. It was the last, but Piastri just pulled out of the bag. That's what happened in all reality. Now, Norris is in a good position. I mean, he won last week, obviously, in Monaco. He took pole as well. He actually put it down to a social media blackout. He said that he gets nothing from social media anymore. He occasionally updates his profile just to keep on top of things, but he said that he regards it as a bit of a waste of time. He's pulled away from all the negativity, and it's helped him pull away on the track, quite simply, because he's up against... He's on second today, he's just behind Piastri, but he's in with a real fighting chance throughout this tournament. And you wouldn't have put him down as one of the favourites at the start. Everyone was talking about the other Brit, or certainly one of the other Brits, Lewis Hamilton, who's 5th today on the grid, but 6th overall in the Drivers' Championship. The car hasn't been the magic touch that he needed. We've said before in previous weeks that I just don't believe that somebody could go from finishing nowhere for 4 years to suddenly troubling the top end of the grid, and that's been exactly borne out. The fact that Russell and Lando Norris are leading the charge for the Brits now sees them, for me, deserving of a bit more coverage.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And finally, the Giro d'Italia.
Yeah, so we get the three...
Which is, I take it, is
the three
cycling.
majors. There's 3 majors in cycling. Tour de France is one we know about. You've got the Vuelta in Spain, and you've got the Giro d'Italia in Italy. Very rare for a British rider to produce there. So it's the equivalent of performing well on clay in tennis. And so Simon Yates, barring a stunning turnaround today, will go on and win that, and that'll be a major achievement for him. And it was he exercised some demons from 2018. The highest point of the race is something called Col de Finesse, And that's the highest
That
point.
sounds very high.
It does, and it separates the wheat from the chaff. That's one of my favourite phrases, as you know. And he surmounted it yesterday really well ahead of his Spanish rival, and it means he's put himself in, to coin a phrase from F1, pole position to take the Giro, and that would be a hell of a
Wonderful. So just 32 years as well, isn't it? Which is, you know...
We've had cycling success, don't get me wrong, but in the context of everything Bradley Wiggins has been through recently, it just feels like a long way away, doesn't it? A long way back in the past.
All right, Aidan, thank you very much indeed.
Still to come, should Britain's worst offenders be banned from receiving money in prison from their family? Let us know, because we're going to be talking to Anne Widdecombe about that.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, there's plenty of hot sunshine across most of the Mediterranean, but there are some thunderstorms in places, particularly in southern France. Across the Canary Islands and Madeira, though, there'll be this brisk northerly flow on Monday, bringing in quite a bit of cloud, but sunshine for southern parts of Spain. Here are those thunderstorms across the Alps, southern parts of France, but most of Italy, the Balkans and Greece and Turkey having plenty of hot sunshine and temperatures into the high 20s, and the outlook is for plenty more dry and settled weather.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Nigel is back.
Good evening.
Unfiltered.
Are these proposals bold enough?
Uncompromising.
Will it bring growth?
Unmissable.
We as a country are brilliant.
Nigel Farage returns this Tuesday from 7 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Nana Queer, weekends from 3 p.m.
Recently, Meghan Markle did a cookery show.
She did.
What happened? Because you made a certain comment and she...
I was asked by a national newspaper to basically review the show, what I thought from a chef's perspective. So I did, and really the opinions came across quite strong.
What kind of things did you say? Can you say?
Well, I didn't think it was a great show, to be honest with you. I felt that it was a bit forced and fake and stuff, which I've been on this show on GB News and explained that before, but I think the problems with Meghan was that Netflix are looking for things to do with her. You know, she's not going to be racing cars and she's not going to be doing this and she's not going to be doing that. So I think they've kind of thrown her into the whole kind of cookery thing, make a nice show about it and, you know, try and recoup some money.
And in it, there was a potential that you may have said that she didn't appear to be a great chef or she might not be able to cook or...
Well, my understanding...
Recount what you can say and then we don't want you to get in trouble.
No, I think that, again, I go back to what I just said then, I think they've kind of thrown her into something. They thought to themselves what they're going to do with Meghan next. And basically they've kind of thought, well, most people can cook, let's create a cookery show, let's make her the new Martha Stewart, let's try and recoup some money, let's do, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if they're going to bring out pans and knives and tea towels as well as what she's already launched already. And, yeah, I think it's... From a chef's perspective, it's very disappointing that streaming sites are, you know, backing people who have got really no experience in the industry and don't really have the right to be teaching people how to cook.
Well, she did make a really nice sort of like fruit rainbow, where she put all the fruit in the thing, in one on the other. And...
That must have been episode 1, because I stopped after episode 1.
Though, do you?
GB News, the People's Channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Time for the papers with Winston Davis and Emma Wolfe. Morning to you both. Emma, Mail on Sunday, looking at working-class white children are falling behind classmates.
Yeah, this is really depressing. There's sort of new data out showing just how badly white working-class children are doing in this country. Our Education Secretary, Bridget Phillipson, who many would argue has already done quite a lot to damage education and to damage schools and pupil chances in this country in 10, 11 short months, is now launching an inquiry into why such children are failing. She's talking about in attendance, in attainment, in life chances, in all the kind of essential measures. White working-class boys, especially, but also white working-class girls, are doing really badly. You know, they're not getting the basics right. English and maths, GCSEs, they're not getting the basics right. Then again, critics say that she's done a lot to damage schools. She's been axing, what she axed already, sort of extra support for maths, for physics, for Latin, for computing, because she views them as elitist. So I hate this kind of class war that she's taken into schools. I think that's really, really unfair. Obviously, I'm sure we've debated ad nauseam the thing about, you know, adding the extra 20% VAT on private schools, which I know personally has impacted so many children, so many families, where they were just about managing, just about able to stretch, to save up, to cover those private schools. It's damaging the state sector, the private sector. She's axed those behaviour hubs, which were helping children with challenging behaviour. I mean, we just saw the other day the massive increase in ADHD diagnoses. Astonishing. And as someone who's got a 4-year-old who's just entered state schooling, I can tell you the education system in this country is not in a good way. I had no idea how difficult it was for white working class or white.
It's not a new story. This has been years. It's new data, but it's not a new story. Working class, particularly white boys, have been failing for years. And I've been, for the last 5 years, helping families at Christmas, feed them with toys, toiletries and whatnot, and seeing firsthand how families are doing. And when you've got children that are going to school with no food, they can't heat their homes properly, they're not going with right clothing, how can they concentrate on their maths and their English? Because they're preoccupied. You said about a rise of ADHD. That's a trauma-related condition. So these children are facing more and more harsh conditions. It's not surprising that they're failing. And rather than, you know, the government, you know, talking about, you know, it's white working class boys that are failing or white working class children failing, let's look at the causes of this and solution towards this and reinvest into families and help in education, help with support for families.
Yeah. All right. Let's have a look at the Sunday Telegraph, Winston. Talk about, you know, everybody needs more money. Perhaps water companies need more money too, because they're on about... we could see a bath time tax.
They're at it.
Use more water, pay more for it.
Yeah, so they're looking at trialling new tariffs and charging heaviest users of water basically more money. So if you've got a large garden, swimming pool, they're going to charge you more for using your water.
So it's like, but in effect, more per unit?
Yeah, exactly. So higher tariffs for those that are using more.
That's crazy.
So I suppose the thinking behind it is going after, if you can afford a swimming pool, you can afford higher bills of water. But it also goes to another story we've got in here about water companies talking about fixing your leaks in your toilet, because the cost of it is then going to be passed on to us.
Well, they're sort of threatening a hosepipe ban if we don't do more to stop our leaky toilets. And, I mean, what are they doing, for heaven's sake?
Well, they're losing millions of gallons of water every day through leak, through our creaky Victorian system. Thames Water all over London loses millions of gallons of water a day. Can we just go back to the bath time tax? Yes, it's people with plunge pools and swimming pools they need to fill and watering big gardens. It's also families who have maybe 4 or 5 children, to go back to the original story about poverty and families in poverty. So now we're not going to be able to wash our children after a grimy day at school?
But also, if you...
Why can't it be more tailored so that, you know, you can't refill your swimming pool without paying a big whack, but you can actually still clean your children and wash their clothes?
If you use more water, you are paying more money. Why should you have to pay a higher tariff for that water?
Yeah. Let me say, listen, as someone I've worked as a plumber for 16 years, the amount of times we see water literally going down your toilet and there's money going down your toilet and you don't notice it. If you get a bit of tissue, put it in the back of your toilet and you'll see suddenly there's water and someone goes, oh, I've got a £1,000 bill. It's that. If you've got 3 toilets in your house and they're all leaking, you haven't looked after them for 4 or 5 years, that's why you're getting your bill. So I understand both sides of that.
Oh, yeah, I mean, you should definitely get stuff like that sorted out for your own cost benefit. It's just the idea that we're being told to do it by water companies who won't fix their own problems.
100%.
And the fat cats. I mean, we've
still getting their bonuses.
Yeah. Absolute
Can we got enough time to talk about Lord Hermer versus Lucy Connolly? Because we were talking about Lord Hermer, the Attorney General, yesterday, and the fact that he issued what really wasn't very much of an apology, saying, yes, all right, he acknowledged his choice of words was clumsy, that's right. And a lot of people got in touch and said, what about Lucy Connolly? If she'd actually stood up in court and said, my use of words was clumsy, would she have not been jailed? She's still in jail, and meanwhile the Prime Minister is defending Lord Hermer.
Yes.
And it turns out he signed off on the Lucy Connolly.
Exactly that. I mean, the thing is, you got this debate around trying to put down harsh sentences to stop the riots last year. Yes, you tweeted, it inflamed things. Was it worth 2.5 years in prison? I mean...
It really has angered people. It's absolutely shocking that a mother with a young child is still in prison for this. When she said, I'm sorry, I made a mistake, she deleted it.
Yes. Let's be quite clear.
Is there no role for forgiveness in our society? Is that what we're saying?
What she said was wrong.
Yes.
And she should not have put that on Twitter. She really shouldn't. It was a stupid thing to do. But the sentence is
utterly disproportionate.
And Lord Hermer, who himself has made this clumsy statement about Nazism, he's just allowed to say, oh, it was a bit clumsy, and the Prime Minister is defending him.
And our prisons are full, and people like this should not be in prison. She does not pose a threat
to society,
an ongoing threat to society.
No.
Yes, what she did...
I can't believe she's still in prison.
I know. I think this one has touched a nerve. I think people are genuinely shocked.
And the other thing with this, of course, what he said was clumsy, but his was prepared, planned, written down. Whereas she just banged out a tweet, which you don't think about at all, do you?
Is anything going to happen with Lucy Connolly, or is she just allowed to, stay in jail while we forget about her?
She's going to stay in jail.
I can't believe it.
She's being made an example of. She's being made an example of, and I know other journalists who are frightened about this kind of thing. You do feel that you better not say this.
All right, you two, thank you very much indeed. We'll see you a little bit later on. Let's get a check on the weather for you.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, it's a showery start to meteorological summer, windy in the northwest, but still pleasantly warm in the south and east. So a fresher start across the southern parts of England, but a bright start across Scotland and Northern Ireland. A damp start here with heavy spells of rain that could be thundery. That swiftly moves its way eastwards, affecting much of northern England with showery outbreaks, then running into parts of Wales. That tends to break up. Then it'll be a case of sunny spells, scattered showers, but some strong winds, especially across the northwest of Scotland. Feeling warm in that sunshine, but not as mild and humid as recent days. So as we go through Sunday evening, like I said, some strong gusty winds coming down from the northwest across northwestern parts of Scotland. Elsewhere, showery outbreaks of rain. Turning a little bit dry across Northern Ireland later with some late evening sunny spells. Drier picture for northern England as we end Sunday. Elsewhere, a mixture of scattering of showers and some late evening sunshine. So as we go through the rest of Sunday evening, we actually have a ridge of higher pressure building in. So most of the showers will start easing as we go through the evening and overnight. A few showers may develop though still across western parts of Scotland, but otherwise plenty of clear spells. Temperatures ranging from 8 to 11 degrees, but could feel a little bit chilly in the countryside, especially in the north. So for many, Monday starts fine, dry and bright. Plenty of sunshine on offer, and it stays that way through much of the day. Some showers will bubble up, but the sunshine will be turning increasingly hazy across Northern Ireland and Scotland, with the winds increasing here too, ahead of the next area of low pressure. So cool in the north, but in the sunshine, highs of up to 22 degrees. Bye-bye for now.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you could be our biggest winner yet, touring in this stylish El Nagbaran 560 motorhome. This brand new 2025 model comes complete with kitchen and bathroom areas and enough space to comfortably sleep a family of 4. We'll also give you a further £5,000 in tax-free cash to add a few of your favourite things. Don't miss out as lines close on the 6th of June. For another chance to win the lot, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB13 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 6th of June. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie's here.
I'm Michelle Duke, Britain's News Channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's News Channel.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. I mean, maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
What is the state of our economy? What is the state of our National Health Service? What is the state of our schools?
What on earth is going on?
Understanding Britain means understanding the state we are in. This is State of the Nation with me, Matt Goodwin, Wednesdays, Thursdays and Fridays from 8 p.m. on GB News.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Good morning. GB News can exclusively reveal that almost 1,200 migrants crossed the channel yesterday. It's a new record, with border officials forced to call on fishing boats for assistance.
The government lost control of the borders. I'm determined that we'll retake control of the borders.
But with action promised and the crisis worsening, when will Britain actually see some results?
Well, this is the first time that we've seen these incredible numbers this early in the year since the migrant crisis began. Is it now time for the government to declare a border security emergency?
Biggest increase in defence spending for this country since the end of the Cold War.
Defence Secretary John Healey says there's no doubt the UK will spend 3% on GDP on defence in the next Parliament, but with our finances already stretched, will we have to see further benefits and public services slashed to fund it?
Prince Harry reportedly sought advice from Princess Diana's brother about changing his family name to Spencer. According to the Daily Mail, he discussed the issue with Earl Spencer, but was then told that legal hurdles would be insurmountable.
It is, first and foremost, a punishment.
That's the view of the Justice Secretary, Shabana Mahmood. But should punishment go one step further and ban our most dangerous prisoners from getting money, even from their own family? We'll talk to Anne Widdicombe about that later.
France is going to ban smoking in public areas frequented by children. So should Britain follow suit and stub out smoking in all public spaces?
And it's what the geeks like me and Anne are talking about this morning. As Ncuti Gatwa leaves his role in Doctor Who, it looked like Billy Piper was his replacement, which would be extremely controversial. If you know the show, you'll know why. We'll talk to Stephanie Tecci later.
They were magnifique in Munich. Paris Saint-Germain end their agonising wait for a Champions League triumph with a record-breaking 5-0 win over Inter at the Allianz Arena. And at the French Open tennis, 2 British men make it through to the round of 16 for the first time ever.
Well, it's the start of meteorological summer, but has the weather got the memo? I'll have all of the details coming up shortly.
It's just gone 7 o'clock. No, 8 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
And I'm Anne Diamond, and this is GB News Breakfast.
See, I've totally lost track of the time.
Well, we do occasionally.
We do.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, it's because I'm really irritated.
Oh.
I'm really irritated now.
OK, why?
But, not in a bad way. As much as we love coming to work,
yes,
obviously. You know we do. However, I've just had some messages, loads and loads of messages from my mother-in-law.
Oh, and
because she's up
what have you done?
She's up early and watching because she spent the night. She's having a spa day with her friend, Ribby Hall. It's up north. Lovely place.
Very nice.
So she's having a spa day. She's
having a spa day today?
Yeah, rubbing it in.
Quite an early start.
Rubbing it in. Yeah, well, you've got to make the most of your treatments, haven't you?
Yeah.
So it's a birthday present that she's getting. But she's so she's doing that, and I've just thought, blimey heck.
I've just booked a spa 4 days.
Oh, you would? Have you?
Well, I've got Monday to Friday, you see.
So you're going in all day?
Yeah.
All 4 days?
All 4 days, yeah. In Cyprus.
Oh, you didn't invite me to join you.
No, I want to do it on my own, thank you very much.
Oh, how nice.
Yeah, sometimes you feel the sunshine does you good.
Yeah.
Don't you? I mean,
that's
what I wonder. Is there a real chemical change
I think there
in
is.
you when you've basked in the sunshine and you've just sort of absorbed it? I don't know. Or does that happen as you get older? I don't know that either. But I feel better when I've had a dose of sunshine.
Yeah. No, I think you do. It's why it's been nice with the weather's been like, though it has been a bit muggy. It was really muggy around us yesterday.
Yeah,
but still, the heat was nice. But you want that proper sunshine.
Proper sunshine to bake.
But spa day is mostly indoors, right?
Yeah, well, but you go for the treatments and then you lie outside by the pool and have a cocktail.
Something liberating about pulling the Speedos on.
Yeah? Oh, gosh, that's a thought. What a thought. That's wrecked my 4-day spa day now. Thank you very much.
I feel a little bit sick.
Yeah, I know. It's funny.
Anyway, we'll leave that one there. GB News can exclusively reveal the full scale of the crisis in the Channel. Maritime security sources telling us that both French and British border patrols are completely overwhelmed.
Well, they certainly were yesterday, because yesterday alone 1,200 migrants, or just under that number apparently, crossed the Channel, marking the highest daily total ever recorded and 43% higher than the same time last year.
Well, this record means British and French lifeboats and even, would you believe, fishing vessels had to step in because official resources were buckling under the pressure.
So let's get more with our Home and Security editor, Mark White. Morning, Mark. Yes, it was just under 1,200, we think, yesterday?
Yes, that's right, Anne. Just under 1,200 crossed in 18 small boats with an average of more than 65 people on those small boats. We want to show you first some images that were recorded by our colleagues at the Press Association who were on the other side of the English Channel and saw just some of the hundreds or thousands who were attempting to cross yesterday. We're told that close to 200 others didn't manage to get across because their engines gave out on the boats, or the number we'd be looking at today would be even higher. But look at this. This is Gravelines between Dunkirk and Calais. It's about 15 miles south of Dunkirk. And the migrants, as they do now, tried and tested a method of getting onto these boats is they wade out into the shallow water. The boats are launched further up the beaches or from a river and come down. They're described as taxi boats. But the French police do little, if anything, to intervene to stop them. And that will be, something that I'm sure makes many people extremely angry, given that we give the French £500 million every few years to beef up their security in this area. You could see some women and children there, but actually the vast majority of those crossing the channel, as we see each year, is young men. 85% of those who cross the English Channel are young men, but normally on a few of the boats you'll get a small contingent of women and children that will come across as well, making that dangerous journey. But it was incredible just how stretched the border patrols were in both France and the UK. All of their border patrol vessels were tied up, dealing with the number of boats trying to cross. So much so that they had to call in on both sides of the channel their lifeboats, the RNLI on this side of the channel, and of course the French SNS on the other side of the channel to help them out. And it was just so busy at one point with every available asset dealing with the migrants that the normal calls that came into the Coast Guard, a yacht that was taking on water, a kayak that got into trouble, couldn't be dealt with right away, and the authorities had to ask for the help of local fishing boats to just help while they got their maritime assets to that area. You're looking now at images, exclusive images from our producer in Dover, filming as those who had just taken off from France arrived in Dover, having been pulled from the boats by Border Force and lifeboats. And our producer said he had never seen anything like it. Back to back boats, Border Force and lifeboats, all just stacked up, queuing, waiting to get into Dover Harbour, which of course is the migrant processing centre there, before these migrants are then taken off to the Manston camp for further processing, and then it's off to a hotel near you or to local authority accommodation. And I think the thing to really remark on in terms of the numbers yesterday is we have never seen numbers like these this early on in the year. Normally about August into September, you could get on very flat calm days up to maybe 1,000 or so crossing. But to get this very high number this early on in the year, with boats like this stacking up at Dover Harbour, it shows the level of the crisis that the government is up against. Its policy is a law enforcement policy. It is aimed at smashing the criminal gangs, and they've documented, they've shown us the successes, arrests that they've made, supply lines that they've disrupted. But the thing about yesterday is it shows that any time we get flat calm conditions or an improvement in weather conditions, they come across in very significant numbers. So whatever they're doing to try to dismantle the gangs thus far isn't working, and they've had pretty much a year now to implement those policies, and it's not working.
Mark, I know it's difficult because there are various other things that come into play with these crossings. I mean, it's as simple as the weather. But is there anything does the data show that even though the Rwanda scheme, the deterrent never properly started, did the threat of that deterrent have an impact before there was a change of government?
Well, not directly on the numbers crossing, but it did give us a key indication about the mindset of those attempting to cross, because, of course, journalists, when the Rwanda scheme was first announced, were en masse on the other side of the channel, speaking to people smugglers and also to migrants, and asking them if it would make a difference if there was a deterrent like Rwanda that would mean you end up back in the likes of Africa and not allowed to claim asylum in the UK. And to a man, you know, people said yes, they just wouldn't come if they thought they were going to end up in an African country. So I think there was a potential for a deterrent effect to take hold there, but it never got off the ground. This government likes to say that, you know, 700 million was wasted on this and they only sent a few volunteers. Well, the fact is that's not exactly true, because it was actually mired in legal challenges for a very long time, and it took them a long time to get through all of the various court challenges, but they were at a position where in a matter of weeks, just before the election or just after the election, they would have been able to send those first flights in earnest to Rwanda. We'll never know if it would have proved to be the deterrent the previous government thought it would do, but there are many experts in border security who say that we do need a deterrent, that the law enforcement approach alone just is not going to do it.
Hey, Mark, thank you.
And there's no doubt that if you look at the newspapers today, they're almost adverts for reform, aren't they? Because they're certainly making the point that immigration and this illegal immigration yesterday over the Channel is something that a lot of people are very, very worried about. And anecdotally, anyway, that's why sort of a lot of people are changing their viewpoint and voting reform. This is a double-page spread in the Mail today and shows that not only are the boats leaving like that, but the French police are just sort of waving them off.
Yes, waving them off. Have a good trip.
Taking photographs and all the rest of it. And this is meant to be a service that we're paying a fortune for, isn't it?
Yes, Charlie Rowley's here. I mean, they do seem to be... We are paying them millions of pounds, the French. If we stopped, would it make any difference, I wonder?
Well, that's got to be a question people in Number 10 and in the Home Office, I would have thought, would be asking themselves today. I mean, and I would have thought a phone call, a pretty tough phone call probably needs to be had between the UK and the French Security Service, because the weather is only going to continue to get better. This was just yesterday. Goodness knows what's going to happen today and in the weeks and months ahead. We've just entered June. We've got July and August, and as Mark was saying there in his brilliant report yesterday and today, that the weather is only going to get better. There's going to be even more people taking advantage of this.
So, what's the thinking inside Number 10? I mean, the front page of the Sunday Telegraph clearly says the Prime Minister has lost control of borders. Do they understand that in Number 10? Is it something they think they will actually be able to do something about, or are they just complacent about it because basically our Prime Minister is a human rights lawyer and sees this as just sort of inevitable?
I think there's lots of questions there, and I think that's probably right. I mean, the headline, the PM's lost control of borders, I mean, there's a question whether he actually had control of them in the first place to lose them. And I think when you scrap a deterrent, whatever your thoughts about Rwanda, whether it actually had got off the ground, it hadn't, and it was a lot of money, but there was a deterrent there in place. The decision to scrap it before having any other kind of replacement in place, I think was clearly now a bad move. Of course, they're looking at changing whether it's Article 8 and about the Human Rights Convention and Human Rights Acts to make sure that actually you can deport people. You don't have these last-minute injunctions by judges to deport people. But there's no point running around Whitehall saying, oh, well, actually, we've deported more people than any other previous government, when on the very same day or the very same week, you get a record number of people illegally coming in to the country. And I will defy anybody to come on this show or this programme or this channel throughout the whole day to tell us continually that actually these people are refugees. These are economic migrants. These are, as that front page of the Telegraph shows, and what Mark was just saying, 85% of people are young and able men. These are not people necessarily fleeing and seeking asylum. This needs to be stopped.
The issue that the Prime Minister's going to face, especially when it comes to, more local elections and indeed a general election in a few years, is that it would seem this has reached a breaking point now where even people who have been more liberally minded on this and sort of had a softer approach are now saying, no, actually, this cannot continue at this rate.
Exactly so, because it's all interlinked. So, we have always been a country of fairness, and we've opened our hearts and our homes to take the Ukraine scheme, for example. That's something where the government did create those safe and legal routes, obviously from people fleeing Ukraine to come to the UK. A very positive thing to do. The same with Hong Kong. Similar scheme set up with Afghanistan and Syria. Now, we can question how good those schemes were, how effective they were compared to the Ukrainian scheme, which I think was a very good one. So the government can create safe and legal routes. It can support people where it wants to. But this is the whole point. People that come into this country illegally, that end up, it seems to me, getting put up in hotels at the expense of the taxpayer, people that we haven't chosen to support. The government has a right to decide who it wants to support, in which countries and conflicts are taking place. You then get on the housing ladder, perhaps. You get this benefit bill that we're hearing about. It is absolutely pointless, the government announcing any other kind of domestic policy. What is the point in saying, oh, we're getting the waiting list down in our hospitals, when actually our hospitals are going to be filled, or GP services, with people that have just arrived illegally? What is the point in building 1.5 million homes by the end of this parliament, when actually the priority of those housing are going to be given to people that have come here illegally? And you could say the same with defence, with policing, with communities, all kinds of areas of domestic policy that the government wants to announce. It's being undermined by this. It's not
so-called far right to actually think these matters are of concern, is it?
Absolutely not, because it's about people that do come into the country, whether it's legal or whether it is illegal and people then get asylum, whether you're in the country or not. It's about coming into the country, it's about the integration, and it's about fairness. And that sense of fairness has been totally lost. And it is not far right to say, actually, there's a problem where you have too many people that have come from a completely different country, that don't speak English, that are then set up in a local hotel, maybe a 4- or 5-star hotel in your local community, where there isn't that integration. And when then you start to maybe see criminal activity take place, that creates fear amongst citizens. That creates fear within the community. And that is why it is so important to get to the nub of this and stop the boats.
Yeah, well, OK, Charlie, thank you very much indeed. I just want to bring a view from Valderci, who says, because you said we're a country of fairness, said we are no longer a country of fairness. It's immigrants first, British taxpayers last. And that is what it feels like. I'm sure the government would have a response to that, but that is what it feels like, isn't it? Or military housing last, or homeless people last, or all this pensioners last and farmers last at the moment. It does feel like that at the moment.
That's what I mean. I just can't understand what the thinking is inside number 10.
No. Don't say that phrase, actually, because lots of people have said there is no thinking in number 10. There's lots and lots of messages saying that as well. But I mean, there is thinking, but whether it's joined-up thinking is something else.
Well, here's what the Home Office officially told GB News all about that. They said they want to end dangerous small boat crossings which threaten lives and undermine border security, and will stop at nothing to dismantle their business models and bring them to justice.
I'm not sure business models is the way to approach this.
But there's just stating the obvious, isn't it? It's not actually saying anything particularly useful.
No, it doesn't actually tell us.
I mean, we don't want words, we want action, don't we all?
Anyway, keep your thoughts coming through. They're coming through thick and fast.
They really are, yes.
Keep that happening. gbnews.com/yoursay.
And it's 20 minutes past 8. So moving on to something very different, but it may well get steam coming out of your ears as well. It certainly did with me when I read this. According to the Mail on Sunday, Prince Harry, yes, I know, Prince Harry, sought advice from Princess Diana's brother about changing his family name to Spencer.
Well, sources close to the Duke of Sussex say the amicable conversation ended with Earl Spencer, his uncle, of course, advising him against such a move because the legal hurdles were insurmountable. It's constitutional.
Yes. But I mean, the fact that he even thought about it is surely a sign that the rift between Prince Harry and his family, his father, his brother, it ain't going to mend very quickly, is it? Should we... Yeah, no, go on.
So it's royal commentator Richard Fitzwilliams, who joins us now. I can't help but look at this. I know there's steam coming out of Anne's ears that he would want to change his surname from Mountbatten Windsor to Spencer. I sort of wonder whether it might have been quite a good thing, Richard, if he wanted to do it, in the sense that it creates a line, doesn't it? It's a bit of a red line between him and the royal family.
Well, it certainly is quite extraordinary. I mean, reading this, because Mountbatten Windsor, since 1960, this has been the surname available to members of the royal family, descendants of Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip. Mountbatten was the surname that Prince Philip took when he became a British citizen in 1947. And of course, Windsor was the brilliant propaganda. This was during the First World War, when the royal family changed their name from Saxe-Coburg-Gotha to the very English Windsor. But this is completely weird. I mean, you wonder whether he thought this or whether, in fact, it was just some idea that he was discussing, because, I mean, for example, Lilibet, and remember the Sussexes play a lot with names, because this was the Queen's personal nickname, and they christened Lilibet in her honour, and supposedly she gave permission. But this has been highly disputed. She would become Lilibet Diana Spencer. Now, I mean, you look at that and bringing back memories of Princess Diana, we know that Prince Harry is devoted to her memory, but this would be extraordinary.
I can't think of a more hurtful insult that Prince Harry could deliver to his father. Can you? I mean, to actually say, I no longer want your name, I want my mother's name, and it's like declaring a divorce, only worse, isn't it?
It's clearly designed, if this was thought through and if he seriously intended to do this, deeply hurtful. It underlines the toxicity of the royal rift. You wonder precisely what else the Sussexes could do. I mean, remember, they've been attacking until relatively recently. Then we had Harry on the BBC with all sorts of accusations, some of them rather fantastic, in my opinion. There's no doubt Oprah, where names came up, I mean, the idea that Meghan floated the idea that Archie wouldn't become a prince because of some form of racism. This was utter nonsense, because, of course, when the moment they became grandchildren of the monarch, both of them under the 1917 rule, which was linked to George V, both of them took have the option of taking the HRH. So the problem with the Sussexes is, I mean, clearly very little is being thought out. They're supposed to have advisors who constitute a court in Montecito. You wonder whether, in fact, it's going to make them more logical.
Yes, I don't know. Richard, good to see you. Thank you very much indeed. I mean, I totally get your point. If it's a dig, if it's meant to be hurtful, I get that. But I sort of think, because Meghan is obviously very keen now at telling people she's Meghan Sussex.
Yes.
If she was there, well, she couldn't be Meghan Sussex then, could she? She'd be Meghan Spencer.
Yeah.
Well, wouldn't we prefer that? I think that
I take your point, but how hurtful to his father. His father would be hurt by that.
Oh.
His brother might not be so hurt.
No.
You might see your point of view rather more.
I do, yeah.
I don't know. Why did he have to even... I don't know. Well. What would the old Queen think?
Well...
She'd have been terribly hurt.
She'd be hopping mad, I should think.
Yeah.
But there you go. Right, let's have a look at the weather for you. Here's Catherine.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, it's a showery start to meteorological summer, windy in the northwest, but still pleasantly warm in the south and east. So a fresher start across the southern parts of England, but a bright start across Scotland and Northern Ireland. A damp start here with heavy spells of rain that could be thundery. That swiftly moves its way eastwards, affecting much of northern England with showery outbreaks, then running into parts of Wales. That tends to break up. Then it'll be a case of sunny spells, scattered showers, but some strong winds, especially across the northwest of Scotland. Feeling warm in that sunshine, but not as mild and humid as recent days. So as we go through Sunday evening, like I said, some strong gusty winds coming down from the northwest across northwestern parts of Scotland. Elsewhere, showery outbreaks of rain. Turning a little bit dry across Northern Ireland later with some late evening sunny spells. Drier picture for northern England as we end Sunday. Elsewhere, a mixture of scattering of showers and some late evening sunshine. So as we go through the rest of Sunday evening, we actually have a ridge of higher pressure building in. So most of the showers will start easing as we go through the evening and overnight. A few showers may develop though still across western parts of Scotland, but otherwise plenty of clear spells. Temperatures ranging from 8 to 11 degrees, but could feel a little bit chilly in the countryside, especially in the north. So for many, Monday starts fine, dry and bright. Plenty of sunshine on offer, and it stays that way through much of the day. Some showers will bubble up, but the sunshine will be turning increasingly hazy across Northern Ireland and Scotland, with the winds increasing here too, ahead of the next area of low pressure. So cool in the north, but in the sunshine, highs of up to 22 degrees. Bye-bye for now.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed Home Battery Storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Right, it's motorhome time. A great British giveaway. It's the motorhome worth over 67 grand and then another 5 grand in tax-free cash. Here is how to try for it.
It's the final week to see how you could be our biggest winner yet.
Driving away in this Elnag Baron 560 motorhome, courtesy of Marquis Leisure. It has plenty of room for your family of 4. Comes complete with kitchen, bathroom and all the space you'll need for life on the road. And the best news? You can drive it on your existing driving licence. Plus, we'll also give you a further £5,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. Don't delay. You can't win if you're not in the draw. For another chance to win the lot, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus 1 standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry starts at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB13 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 6th of June. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
This motorhome and £5,000 in cash really could be yours. Good luck.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I ever got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
A monumental breakthrough. Scientists have revealed that they've found strong evidence of alien life. Just 124 light years away.
Which is quite far, isn't it? Astronomers from Cambridge University have detected signs of molecules that do indicate life, so we may not be alone after all.
Well, joining us now to explain what on earth this exciting story is, the astronomer and broadcaster Mark Thompson joins us. Mark, just how important is this discovery?
Well, it's incredibly important. For so many years now, we've been looking for some signs that we're not alone in the universe. The universe is a massive place. It's often been said that there's more stars in the universe than there are grains of sand on Earth. So, it's a big place. And to think that we're the only intelligent species in the entire cosmos is difficult to understand. And the discovery that's just been announced is that there's something called dimethyl sulfide, which is an element made of hydrogen, carbon and sulfur, which at the moment we think the only possible way that could be there is through some form of primitive living organisms.
So this is because it's a very complicated gas to sort of combine together. There's no way there could be some sort of volcano churning this stuff out. It has to be some sort of biological life form as the most likely explanation.
Yeah, absolutely. There are other elements. But this particular element, dimethyl sulfide, at the moment, the only process we know of that can produce it is life. Now, of course, we're still in early stages of this discovery, and we still need to do a lot of work to see if there's any other processes we can identify that can produce it. But for now, the only thing we know of is life, and so the only explanation therefore is that it's life, but it is still early days.
GB News, the People's Channel.
This is our country, and we think it's amazing. From high tea to the high street, we love it all. Even the rain, we like that too. There's nowhere else we'd rather be. That's why we're here to be the fearless champion of Britain, its voices and its values. Because we are GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's 8:32 now. Southport killer Axel Rudikabana is being allowed to buy treats, make phone calls to family and receive money from family while behind bars. To be fair, that applies to every single prisoner in the system.
But the Shadow Justice Secretary, Robert Jenrick, has slammed these privileges, he calls them privileges, calling them a disgrace and demanding they be revoked. But should they? Would that be the right thing to do?
Let's talk to former Prisons Minister Anne Widdecombe. Anne, it's good to see you this morning. You can understand the anger of people that someone is allowed to have, buy treats and what have you. But is this the right thing to do?
No, there's very, very good reason why prisoners should continue to handle, and it's in the abstract, they have accounts, why they should continue to handle money. OK, Rudikabana isn't going to be coming out for 52 years, but most of your prisoners are going to be coming out of prison, even those who committed serious offences, within the next 20, 25 years. Now, it's crucial, first of all, that they keep up with the workings of money, with the value of money, with the price of money. Secondly, if you're going to encourage prisoners to work in the prison workshops, then you try to get into the habit of they work in return for very, very little pay. It's not proper wages or anything like. And they can then decide with those wages whether they use them in the prison shop or whether they save for when they come out, or whether they're buying their kid a birthday present in the abstract. And that is normal life. And believe me, if you don't let prisoners who are going to come out into the community experience some degree of normal life in prison, then you're going to have a very, very big problem and probably more victims when they do come out.
OK, but what about prisoners like Rudikabana, people who have killed and who will go on being a threat to society and will be kept in prison? A lot of people get in touch and say, surely prison is about punishment as well. And the most obvious punishment is remove their privileges of, watching television or being able to buy a packet of crisps whenever they want.
Well, if you create a situation in which a prisoner never sees television, never listens to the radio, can't buy a packet of crisps, and you create that situation, you might as well be going back to the dungeons. That, quite honestly, and isolation and complete removal from all social functions. You will never rehabilitate that prisoner if you treat him like that. Now, I know that there are some horrible people in our jails, and Rudikabana is certainly one. And we've got other horrors in our jails. We've got men in our jails that the prison officers come in 4 at a time. They won't go individually into a cell because they're so dangerous. We've got some horrible people, but we also have tens of thousands of people who are going to come back into society. And they need some sort of normal living. And, I would go to the stake on that one. I sometimes think people react with their hearts rather than with their heads.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because we're having this conversation about this particular prisoner, but we didn't have this conversation about Lucy Letby. We didn't have this conversation about Beverly Allett. We didn't have the conversation about Ian Brady and Myra Hindley and all this. So it's just fact and this has always gone on, obviously.
Yeah. There were controversies over Myra Hindley. I can remember once a journalist ringing me up and saying, was it right that she was getting Christmas dinner along with the other prisoners? You do have You have those flashes where we forget that there is punishment and there is vengeance. And what prison's about are punishment. They're not about eternal, non-ending vengeance. And frankly, one of the reasons, and it isn't the driving reason, but one of the sub-reasons why I support the death penalty is that is an end of it. And you haven't got this focus of hatred forever.
What about the safety of prison officers? Robert Jenrick has actually said they should be armed, maybe with tasers, maybe with rubber bullets. What do you think of that?
I wouldn't have an objection. I'm now speaking because you've suddenly sprung this on me and I haven't really thought about it, but I wouldn't have an objection, I think, to prison officers having tasers, because where there is a sudden lack of control, where there is an incident, that could be quite useful. If that's what you mean by armed, I wouldn't want to take it much further than that.
OK. Anne Widdecombe, really good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed. To be honest, I think Anne Widdecombe there talks a lot of sense. And it's interesting that she says prison is about punishment and not about vengeance.
Yes.
And I do think that is a line that gets crossed. And it's easy to cross with these horrific offenders like Rudy Cabana. Of course it is. But it's about maintaining that line for us to remain civilised, even if they're not.
I do think the idea, she's said that maybe tasers are the answer, because you don't hear, I mean, knives or guns could be grabbed by a prisoner and then used against the officer or whatever, whoever. But you don't hear very often at all of tasers being grabbed, because I think the way they're used, but I think the way they're worn and used may be very difficult.
But even so, and even if an officer was tasered, obviously it's not a fatal thing. So tasers would probably be a sensible idea.
Well, let us know what you think in the usual way. Thank you very much.
Right, it is 8:38. We've got the sport in just a moment with Aidan.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your-say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
What is the state of our economy? What is the state of our National Health Service? What is the state of our schools?
What on earth is going on?
Understanding Britain means understanding the state we are in. This is State of the Nation with me, Matt Goodwin, Wednesdays, Thursdays and Fridays from 8 p.m. on GB News.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I ever got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Aidan's here. Morning.
Good morning.
And what a big night it was last night for PSG.
Well, it's a big night in Paris generally. You've got the French Open going on, but of course, even though the Champions League final was in Munich, there were huge celebrations at the Parc des Princes as well, the home of PSG, right next to Roland Garros. We'll come to what happened in the aftermath later on, but first of all, the story was the match itself, because PSG, who had never won the Champions League, despite going close once or twice in their history, the first French club to win it last night since 1993. It's a long, long time, considering that English sides, German sides, Spanish sides have won it in the intervening period multiple times, but they produced football from a different planet, quite simply. This young side, Desiree Doué, you've got Bradley Barcola, all these players are going to be 18, 19, 20. They're going to be around for a long, long time, and it beggars belief, wondering what their potential could be. Because last night they were 2-0 up in 20 minutes. They just tore a very experienced and worldly-wise Inter side apart and made them look old and, quite frankly, just done and dusted, even though Inter have been a very successful side in the Champions League.
Did they just sort of give up?
I wouldn't say they gave up. I think they were just beaten. They were demoralised by the end. They knew that they'd been absolutely pulverised on the pitch yesterday, and I mean, there was a great story around the coach as well. Luis Enrique, the former Spain coach, he's had a very tough few years. His daughter, Zana, at the age of 9, died of bone cancer in 2019. And that, when he won the treble with Barcelona, he led her to the centre circle and laid down a flag. And then last night he took a T-shirt commemorating her loss on his from one of the members of the crowd. And the PSG ultras who are behind the goal at the Allianz Arena unfurled a banner, which we can just see in front of us there, giving him a depiction of what it was like, but with a PSG jersey on this time. And so it was great. It was a great night for him, a huge achievement.
Gosh, it must have been terribly emotional for him.
It was, and also he's achieved some notable history tonight, because not only is it the biggest win by any side in a Champions League final, he's also the first. I think he's only the second coach to do a treble with 2 different clubs. It's an extraordinary achievement. As I say, I don't see anybody else taking these players from PSG. They've got the wherewithal to keep them. It's not as if they're frightened of Real Madrid coming along. All right, you're going to get the odd exception like Mbappe. But Mbappe, how's he feeling last night? He left because he couldn't win that trophy with PSG. He didn't think he could do it. So he went to Real Madrid. He went out in the quarterfinals against Arsenal, and he sees this side. All the guys he will know in that side, just go and do it on the night last night, and it was absolutely wonderful to watch.
OK, why is it called the Parc des Princes?
I don't know why it's called the Parc des Princes. I've been there.
Yeah, it's obviously means Prince's Park. Prince's plural.
Okay.
Named after the area where the stadium is located, and it's all to do with the French Revolution. Apparently, the French royal family used to hunt, relax and stroll around there.
Oh, very nice.
In the Parc des Princes.
There were echoes of the French Revolution last night. There were some riots afterwards.
I know, what a shame.
It was. Well, Cam Norrie's match was disrupted by fireworks, but yeah, 130 arrests last night.
All right, OK. Aidan, thank you very much.
Good to see you this weekend.
Right, we've got the papers for you in just a moment. First, though, if you fancy a bit of holiday sun, here's the forecast for the top European destinations.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean all clear skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Hello, there's plenty of hot sunshine across most of the Mediterranean, but there are some thunderstorms in places, particularly in southern France. Across the Canary Islands and Madeira, though, there'll be this brisk northerly flow on Monday, bringing in quite a bit of cloud, but sunshine for southern parts of Spain. Here are those thunderstorms across the Alps, southern parts of France, but most of Italy, the Balkans and Greece and Turkey having plenty of hot sunshine and temperatures into the high 20s, and the outlook is for plenty more dry and settled weather.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. That's State of the Nation every Monday and Tuesday at 8 o'clock, only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
I think there's a real culture shift when you leave the forces, which some people really struggle with. Not all do, many don't. You know, of those 2.1 million, not everybody's struggling with loneliness and isolation. But those that do really struggle to find their way, and then you get in that spiral.
They've been institutionalised. They've been in a with other men or other women for many years.
So you've lived in that community. You've felt valued. You've had purpose. You've had a great team and an identity, and then in some cases you don't. And when you lose that, some people struggle with that. And so Friday, as you saw, is an environment where you can bring that community back together again.
And it might actually be that some of the people to whom the army is an appealing option are already the kind of characters that want that security and they need that routine and stability, especially as younger men maybe. And so to have that taken away must be difficult. What more can be done, Richard, to help veterans when they do transition out of the army?
I think there's some good mechanisms in place for people to transition from all three services, Army, Navy, Air Force. But some people struggle, perhaps those who leave quickly as well. So if you leave quickly under a medical discharge or for disciplinary reason, you haven't necessarily left on your terms or within a time. If you were planning on serving 20 plus years and that's over in a flash, that's a game changer. And so you need that support network, family, friends, but also the MOD provide and also local community provides. And
I was talking to one guy and I said, what's going on with your leg? And his wife said, he won't tell you. He lost his leg on duty, would not talk about it. He said, I was just doing my job. That's when it's incredibly humbling, and we saw a lot of this at VE Day. Bev and I were down at the Palace for 5.5 hours, and we met some extraordinary figures. And it does, you do feel a sense of humility in their presence, and then you see some of them are sleeping rough on our streets.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Nigel is back.
Good evening.
Unfiltered.
Are these proposals bold enough?
Uncompromising.
Will it bring growth?
Unmissable.
We as a country are brilliant.
Nigel Farage returns this Tuesday from 7 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
8:48. Once again, Winston Davis and Emma Wolfe are taking us through the papers. Good morning.
Good morning.
Let's start with the Sunday Times. Emma, should we? Junior doctors. We know they want another 29% pay rise. They've been told they are not getting it.
And then they're threatening to bring the NHS to its knees.
Yeah, I mean, there is no doubt that the doctors this time around are, well, fast losing and have really lost the public sympathy on this. We saw the kind of plummet in support for them. I think everybody, all of us, have had wonderful care on an individual level from nurses and doctors within the NHS. It is a wonderful organisation in terms of the people who work within it, and they work very, very hard. But these pay demands are off the scale, aren't they? They got 22% from Wes Streeting. Within weeks of coming in to end the strikes, he gave them 22% pay increase to restore their pay to 2008 levels, which, by the way, the rest of us are not even getting close to. And, you know, in the private sector, it isn't like this. And now they want another... they've been offered 5.4%.
Yeah,
That's not enough.
They want 29.
So they want to get up to 29%. And guess what? The rest of the public sector are then queuing up. So it was the chaos, wasn't it? Well, of course they are. The nurses think this is outrageous. Of course they do. Everybody's working hard. Guess what? All our bills are going up. Everybody is struggling. Well, not millionaires, but lots of people are struggling with the cost of living. I know doctors work hard. I know conditions in the NHS are tough, but as you say, it's a threat. It's a real threat to say we will bring the NHS to a standstill. And let's not forget the operations, the appointments, the ambulances, everything that is affected when doctors go on strike. And we saw that last year.
But what was Wes Streeting doing? Not actually building into their last pay rise the idea that they might not strike again yet.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, the thing is like I said, your point, Emma, where does it stop?
the nurses, the cleaners, you know, where does it stop? And it goes from the NHS to the...
Train drivers, teachers.
That's what I'm saying, across.
You know, this does bring the country down. It does bring the country to a standstill in so many ways. And it affects a lot of different people who then cannot work.
But also, they're talking about a 6-month strike, aren't they? I mean, how many people would that... I hate to say it, how many people would that kill?
Yeah. How many people are not getting the cancer diagnosis they need, or not having the operation that they need? How many people, the ambulances are not able to bring people in because they're not being treated, they're not being triaged through A&E, whatever it is. And, you know, one can feel sympathy, but also see this is not fair. This is the BMA, a highly politicised organisation, urging their members to vote for this ballot. Look, if you're told, vote for more pay, of course you're going to vote for more pay. Of course you're going to vote to strike and more pay. But isn't the caring profession, aren't doctors and nurses, you know, the first rule of the Hippocratic Oath, first do no harm? And I'm afraid this is doing
But also,
huge
you've got to keep things realistic. You know, 29%. Come on. Let's get to the real world. Can we have a look at this? Because I know this is almost a light-hearted story, Winston, in the Star, about, you know, being told, you know, check your toilets for leaks because it's wasting a lot of water and all the rest of it. It's just the fact this is coming from water bosses who can't even be bothered to either stop pumping massive amounts of sewerage into our rivers or fix huge leaks in their own systems.
But as we spoke about on the first section, shameless plug, as a plumber, there is a lot of waste in your houses.
Yeah.
Toilets, taps. Emma spoke about the break. She said, oh, I've got water overflowing in my toilet. What's that? And it's a mains inlet valve that's leaking. And if you don't fix it, it affects us. And I know the water bosses are getting their £1 million bonuses, and that needs to stop. But equally, as individuals, we also have to take some responsibility ourselves to go, do I just get a plumber in? I know it's 100 quid, 200 quid, just to check over to make sure I'm not wasting any water. I'm not wasting stuff.
Do you know what? And it's worth doing from our own point of view. It's just the fact that it's who's telling us to do it.
I understand that, and we live in a nanny state as it is at the moment. So it's like.
It's what I don't understand. We're a small island. We get a lot of rain in this country, surrounded by water. Last year, the year before, 2 really essential reservoirs that we needed to build were apparently turned down because of planning permission, because of net zero madness, because of the more net zero madness. So we don't have the reservoirs. We can't collect the water. That's what a reservoir does, collects the rainfall so that we have it. And then last week, we were told we're going to run out of water soon.
Yes, but we are
rationing our water.
We are building 2 new reservoirs.
We needed them last year, or the year before, Stephen. This is why we're in a crisis.
That's what the government has announced. What I didn't get to put to the Water Minister on Friday, which I would have liked to... There was an article in the papers saying part of the reason we're running out of water is down to a huge increase in the number of people coming to the country.
You think?
Now,
Guess what?
Oh, wow.
Guess what? When more people come, our schools struggle and our healthcare struggles, and we use more water, and we need more bin collections, for example. Have you noticed the streets in our towns and cities are absolutely filthy, and that is because we have more and more people coming. And guess what? Not all of them want to look after their neighbourhoods and look after the towns, because they don't live there. They don't care about them.
And on that note, we have to leave it, you two. Thank you very much indeed. Let's have a look at your weather with Catherine.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, it's a showery start to meteorological summer, windy in the northwest, but still pleasantly warm in the south and east. So a fresher start across the southern parts of England, but a bright start across Scotland and Northern Ireland. A damp start here with heavy spells of rain that could be thundery. That swiftly moves its way eastwards, affecting much of northern England with showery outbreaks, then running into parts of Wales. That tends to break up. Then it'll be a case of sunny spells, scattered showers, but some strong winds, especially across the northwest of Scotland. Feeling warm in that sunshine, but not as mild and humid as recent days. So as we go through Sunday evening, like I said, some strong gusty winds coming down from the northwest across northwestern parts of Scotland. Elsewhere, showery outbreaks of rain. Turning a little bit dry across Northern Ireland later with some late evening sunny spells. Drier picture for northern England as we end Sunday. Elsewhere, a mixture of scattering of showers and some late evening sunshine. So as we go through the rest of Sunday evening, we actually have a ridge of higher pressure building in. So most of the showers will start easing as we go through the evening and overnight. A few showers may develop though still across western parts of Scotland, but otherwise plenty of clear spells. Temperatures ranging from 8 to 11 degrees, but could feel a little bit chilly in the countryside, especially in the north. So for many, Monday starts fine, dry and bright. Plenty of sunshine on offer, and it stays that way through much of the day. Some showers will bubble up, but the sunshine will be turning increasingly hazy across Northern Ireland and Scotland, with the winds increasing here too, ahead of the next area of low pressure. So cool in the north, but in the sunshine, highs of up to 22 degrees. Bye-bye for now.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you could be our biggest winner yet, touring in this stylish Elnag Baron 560 motorhome. This brand new 2025 model comes complete with kitchen and bathroom areas and enough space to comfortably sleep a family of 4. We'll also give you a further £5,000 in tax-free cash to add a few of your favourite things. Don't miss out as lines close on the 6th of June. For another chance to win the lot, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB13 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 6th of June. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Britain's newsroom, weekday mornings from 9:30.
What do you think? Is there personal agendas being pushed in schools by maybe individual teachers, or perhaps it's the ethos of the entire school?
I don't think it's not widespread, but there are isolated incidents where, you know, you hear about teachers who have put too much of their own personal opinion into things. And it's actually in the Teaching Standards of England, Part 2, about your professional and personal conduct as well, and also the prevent duty. So I think it's not widespread, but we do hear of cases where teachers have been struck off for this behaviour.
So are there quite strict guidelines then, Christine, on what teachers can bring to the classroom? And would you know if a teacher is stepping outside of those boundaries?
Yeah, 100%. You, as a head teacher and as a senior management team, you need to look at the curriculum, what's being taught, and that how it's delivered within the classroom as well, because there are strict standards. And if a school is failing in that way, then it's not good at all.
Fahima, what might the issues be with this, do you think, from your point of view? If a teacher brings their own ideas about identity politics, let's say, or actually just politics in general, into the classroom, should they be allowed to do that?
To be honest, I don't think that teachers actually will bring their own politics into it. I think it's just their style of teaching, regardless of their opinion. I don't think they can rewrite history. It's only about expanding it. And good teaching presents multiple perspectives, especially in a diverse country like Britain. And it doesn't mean it's erasing sort of any sort of content or traditional. It just means that we're just, you know, adding different voices and critical thinking. That's the whole idea about education, is critical thinking and not blind agreement.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good morning. GB News can exclusively reveal that almost 1,200 migrants crossed the Channel yesterday. It's a new record, with Border Force officials needing to call on fishing boats to assist with other problems.
The government lost control of the borders. I'm determined that we'll retake control of the borders.
But with action promised and the crisis worsening, when will Britain see any results?
Well, we have never seen these incredible numbers this early on in the year since the migrant crisis began. Is it now time for the government to call a border security emergency?
Biggest increase in defence spending for this country since the end of the Cold War.
The Defence Secretary John Healey says there is no doubt the UK will spend 3% of GDP on defence at some point in the next Parliament, but with the nation's finances already stretched, how do we pay for it?
Prince Harry reportedly sought advice from Princess Diana's brother about changing his family name to Spencer. According to the Mail on Sunday, he discussed the issue with Earl Spencer, but was told that legal hurdles would be insurmountable.
Ncuti Gatwa has stepped back from his role in Doctor Who, but Billy Piper at least appears to have taken his place. So it's all very confusing. We'll talk to Stephanie Tetschi in the next few minutes.
Well, it's the start of meteorological summer, but has the weather got the memo? I'll have all of the details coming up shortly.
Just gone 9 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
And I'm Ann Diamond, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Tell me how we keep a straight face in this.
So while Stephen was trying to figure out, no, in fact you didn't, you already knew it was 9 o'clock. Everybody was yelling at you, nine.
We have a little thing in the script where it says, it normally says 6 o'clock.
Yeah, and then it keeps saying 6 o'clock, yeah.
So then we have to work it out on our toes. The fact that just as I was saying 9, everybody, 9!
Yeah.
Yes, I know. I know it's 9 o'clock because we've only got half an hour left.
Yes. Yes, lots to talk about, though, today. I mean, it has been the most extraordinary day for news, hasn't it?
Well, it has, yeah.
Yeah, because GB News can exclusively reveal the full scale of the crisis in the English Channel, with a maritime security source telling GB News that both French and British border patrols are becoming completely overwhelmed.
Yesterday, 1,200 migrants crossed the Channel. That makes it the highest daily total ever recorded, 43% higher than this time last year.
Now, it's a record, and it means that British and French lifeboats and even fishing vessels were sort of hired in and forced in to step in as official resources buckled under the pressure.
Well, let's talk to our Home and Security editor, Mark White. Mark, we talk about a migrant crisis in this country. I mean, if there was any doubt about the language, now is the time it's really striking home.
Yes, absolutely. There's no doubt about it. Many people, of course, say, look, the legal migration crisis is far higher than what we're seeing in the Channel. But the fact is, we are inviting people in as legal migrants, either on student visas or to come and to work in this country. So, yes, of course, it's higher, and they're adding to the economy. What we're seeing here, and this was images that was shot by the Press Association at Gravelines, about 50 miles south of Dunkirk yesterday, are people who are deliberately trying to circumvent UK borders to get into the country, and they're being ably assisted by NGOs, activist groups, and then those left-leaning lawyers on this side of the Channel who fight for these individuals to remain. The fact is, I've spoken to many of these migrants over many, many years, and I can tell you the vast majority that I've spoken to are people who are coming for economic reasons that want to create a better life. Now, I'm not saying that these individuals, some of them, are not fleeing wretched conditions back home, and in certain cases, they do qualify, of course, for asylum. They would have fled a country like Syria at the height of the civil war. But many of them, of course, once they enter the UK asylum system, get leave to remain. And they don't leave the country. We've got the government telling us that the number of deportations, removals from the country is at an all-time high, 30,000 they've managed just since they came into office. But if you drill down into that and actually ask them how many of those 30,000 are small boat migrants, they don't tell you. And the reason they don't tell you is because only a tiny proportion of those leaving the country are small boat migrants. The others are failed asylum seekers who come in on other routes, those who are visa overstayers, or foreign national offenders who've been jailed in this country, served their sentence, and are being returned to their home addresses. We've got some other images we want to show you on this side of the English Channel, which are incredible as well, because they illustrate what our producer down in Kent, who's been covering this story for years, as I have, he has never seen the number of Border Force and lifeboat vessels stacking up at Dover Harbour with the number of migrants that they'd taken out of the Channel. They were back to back to back at the entrance to Dover Harbour. And at one point, the border patrol vessels in France and in the UK were so overwhelmed by the numbers crossing the Channel that, yes, the lifeboats were called in, but also they were unable to respond to genuine emergencies in the Channel and had to call on fishing boats to come in to assist as well. So there's no doubt this is a very significant issue. The government is trying to smash the gangs, but clearly whatever they're doing in dismantling the gangs is not having any kind of effect, because any time the weather improves, we get numbers crossing, very significant numbers, record numbers crossing the Channel.
Mark, for now, thank you.
And in, 20 minutes' time or so, Camilla Tominey will be with us with her programme this morning. She joins us right now from Westminster. Camilla, I mean, it's the biggest story of the last 24 hours, and you never know, it could be again today. Who have you got who can actually talk to this?
Well, interestingly, we're going to be speaking to the Defence Secretary, John Healey. He wants to talk about defence and security on the international stage and the role that Britain's playing in it. But obviously, I'm going to have to ask him which gangs exactly the government has smashed. I mean, these record numbers, and to be fair to Mark White and the GB News team, you know, we wouldn't be seeing this footage if it wasn't for this channel covering this and monitoring this closely. It's as if perhaps some members of the Cabinet particularly want to turn a blind eye to something that is happening and is deeply affecting the nation. Nation very, very concerned about it. So on one hand, we've got this defence spending review tomorrow, and I'm sure Mr Healey's going to be speaking in very strong terms about how we defend ourselves against international threats. And yet, at the same time, there's an irony, isn't there? Because people are arriving by boat across the Channel. And let's be perfectly honest, I don't think the GB News audience has any confidence at all in the Home Office and wider government managing these people, finding out who they are and what their motivations are. So there's a sort of contradiction at play here that the government wants to make all of tomorrow with this spending review announcement about our nation's defence and security, and yet we seem to have this porous border. So I'll be asking John Healey, look, do you think that the Prime Minister is in control of our borders? Because that's not how it seems, both in France and in Dover, and some extraordinary photography as well, featuring in the Sunday papers of French policemen just watching it all happen, taking photos.
I mean, that begs the question, Camilla. You know, if we stopped paying the French, would it make any difference? Would it actually make it any worse?
What are we paying the French for? We're paying the French hundreds of millions of pounds. I'm not sure why we're doing it. And interestingly, does the big EU reset deal have any impact on this and our relations with the French across the Channel? Doesn't seem so. The other person who's going to have very strong views about this, fresh from his triumph on the London Underground, is Robert Jenrick, the Shadow Justice Secretary. He's also going to be joining me to discuss this and his plan to crack down on extremism in prisons. It's quite a controversial idea, arming prison officers, including with guns. So I'll be drilling into the sense of that. I'm also going to be speaking to the economist Andrew Lillico about the state of the nation's finances and, crucially, probing reforms big spending plans. What does Lillico think of Farage's suggestion of scrapping that two-child benefit cap when we learnt from the Telegraph this week that of every pound spent, 31% goes on benefits? That's 10% more than the NHS budget.
OK. Camilla, thanks very much indeed.
Yeah, thank you. It's interesting, Graham's been in touch. He says, hi, Stephen and Anne, from Scalpay in the Western Isles. I wish I was one of those fishing boat skippers. The migrants I would have been asked to take on board would have ended up back in France without setting foot on UK soil, just to show it can be done.
Well,
interesting thought.
Yeah, it is an interesting thought, isn't it? Charlie Rowley, political advisor, is here. Good to see you, Charlie.
Good morning.
And with all this, you can't help but look at all of this and the way it is going and say, is anything other than a deterrent actually going to make any difference to these people? Because smashing the gangs clearly isn't working.
It's not working, and the headline in the Telegraph to say that the PM has lost control of the borders, looks as though he's never had control of them, because record numbers of people, as Mark was saying just before Camilla there, the government scrapped the deterrent on day one that was Rwanda. Whatever you thought about Rwanda, it was something that was there. You then saw migrants that had actually reached the UK move from Northern Ireland into Ireland because they feared the Rwanda policy. So it was a deterrent at the time.
Well, do you remember day one? It almost sounded like a toddler tantrum. It was the first thing they did was scrap Rwanda. You'd think they might have left it in place for a bit while they replaced it.
Exactly. They heralded it as their big sort of political gambit to say, oh, we're, scrapping Rwanda because it's a dud policy. Well, it turns out that I think a few more people in Number 10 will be thinking exactly that now, that they should have kept it in place to find a replacement, to then be able to say to the public, look, we are serious about this. And, I think the Defence Secretary earlier on today has said that the Prime Minister isn't fearing reform, or isn't panicking. He absolutely should be, with headlines today, because this is the only issue that everybody's talking about. If you're going for a Sunday lunch today or around a barbecue, you're not going to be talking about anything else the government is doing. It's about this number one issue of a record number of people coming into the country.
It's interesting. It's going to be fascinating to see what Robert Jenrick has to say for the Conservatives on Camilla's show, because, as you said it looks like the Prime Minister never had control of the borders. Well, it didn't look like Rishi Sunak did either.
No, but it took a long time for the Rwanda scheme to get dreamt up. These are the same Home Office officials, and I'm not blaming necessarily the Home Office, but we know there's a a couple of cases there that are questionable. What can you actually do? And I think, look, yes, there was Rwanda, didn't quite get off the ground, but this is a Prime Minister that's now said for the last few weeks we want closer ties with the EU. That's fine on one level, if that's the direction of travel you want to take. But it comes at a price. You can't allow your French counterparts, if you're having closer ties with the EU, to just do us over in this way, as it appears to be. From the number of people that they've stopped has reduced from, I think it was about 47% this time last year, a couple of years ago, to 45%. It's now 38%. So the money that we're giving to France to do exactly what we're asking them to do, which is to stop people leaving Calais to come into Dover and the south coast, they're not doing their job. They're not upholding their end of the bargain. That doesn't sound like a good friend to me. And I think it will require somebody from Number 10 to pick up the phone to President Macron and say, what on earth's going on? Because it's a disaster for him as much as it is for us. But obviously they're allowing people to be waved on through. And the idea that it's UK citizens now that are being called up trawlers to help is ridiculous.
The bottom line to this is, though, nothing is going to happen unless people, either there's a general election or there's enough people who are Labour supporters who actually turn around and say enough is enough.
Yes.
Because they're not listening at the moment.
Exactly. And this is why, people perhaps in the red wall, we're seeing polling, people are going towards reform because this is what they've been talking about for a very long time. Anybody sitting in government today will be up in arms because this halts their entire agenda. You can't talk about, cutting NHS waiting times. You can't talk about building record numbers of homes for people in this country. You can't talk about improvements in schools, in hospitals, in education, in the economy, when all of UK taxpayers' money seems to be going on people that are coming into this country illegally, getting first dibs on housing, getting to the top of the queues at our GP practices, where crime seems to be up in some of these communities, where people don't speak English, and people are fed up with it. It is that feeling that you said in the last hour, Stephen. It is the feel of this country now that is being taken over, it seems, and where British people, British hard-working taxpayers, are bottom of that queue, and that's why you're seeing reform do so well in the polls, and I think the Prime Minister should be panicking.
OK. Charlie, thank you very much indeed.
I think he is. They're just saying he isn't. But, gosh, if he... Well, he's obviously woken up already and looking at these headlines must be thinking, oh, no. Because they wanted to change the agenda today and talk about defence, didn't they?
They did, but it's not working.
Anyway, stay tuned for Camilla Tominey's show because she's got them on.
Yes, the Home Office has responded, as we've been telling you all morning. They say we want to end the dangerous small boat crossings which threaten lives and undermine border security, and we will stop at nothing to dismantle their business models and bring them to justice. which frankly sounds...
Well, it's stating the obvious, isn't it?
Well, it's lily-livered as well. We want to break the business models. I'm afraid that isn't going to do it, is it? Clearly.
Smash the gangs was the promise, anyway. Talking of defence, the Defence Secretary, John Healey, is going to tomorrow unveil plans to spend £1.5 billion on increasing Britain's production of artillery shells and explosives, armaments in other words. It's also expected that plans for 6 new bomb factories will be announced as ministers publish a strategic defence review. It's understood that the government want to aim for an always-on approach to defence, meaning Britain is constantly ready for war.
The Shadow Justice Secretary, Robert Jenrick, who's going to be on the channel in about 20 minutes or so, has issued calls for prison officers to be armed with lethal weapons to crack down on Islamist terrorists in jail. It follows a series of recommendations by counter-terrorism expert and former prison governor Ian Aitchison, following several attacks on prison officers in jails.
And the ban on the sale of single-use disposable vapes has now officially come into force across the UK. It means that shops and supermarkets won't be able to stock them, but they can still sell rechargeable or refillable devices. Retailers in England and Wales who breach that ban apparently will be fined something like £200 for the first time, with potentially unlimited fines or jail for those who repeatedly reoffend.
Yeah, we'll be sending people to jail for selling a vape. I mean, can you imagine, actually, you know, shoplift, stab someone or whatever, don't worry about it, but if you sell a vape, you'll get 2.5 years in prison. It just seems with the way
Something seems to be a bit upside down.
Mad, isn't it? Right, it's time for the giveaway now. Time is running out. If you want that fantastic motorhome, here's how you enter.
It's the final week to see how you could be our biggest winner yet.
Driving away in this Elnag Baron 560 motorhome, courtesy of Marquis Leisure. It has plenty of room for your family of 4. Comes complete with kitchen, bathroom and all the space you'll need for life on the road. And the best news? You can drive it on your existing driving licence. Plus, we'll also give you a further £5,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. Don't delay. You can't win if you're not in the draw. For another chance to win the lot, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus 1 standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry starts at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB13 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 6th of June. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
This motorhome and £5,000 in cash really could be yours. Good luck.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits.
You had the power then. Yeah, as I
And now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Headliners on GB News, 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. I mean, maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. That's State of the Nation every Monday and Tuesday at 8 o'clock, only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
9:22, let's talk to Stephanie Tecci, should we, about all things showbiz. Morning, Steph, because everyone's talking about Doctor Who. Ncuti Gatwa has regenerated.
Yes, it seems like the final nail is in the coffin for Ncuti Gatwa on Doctor Who. You know, for the last couple of weeks, there's been a lot of speculation whether he was going to be signed for a 3rd series. Last week, the BBC denied axing him, but obviously it's clear as day that he quit the series earlier this month. You know, he stepped down from the Eurovision hosting the UK side of things. So since then, there's been a lot of speculation that he was due to leave the series. To be honest, guys, I'm not shocked. Like, the ratings had been falling down. A lot of die-hard Doctor Who fans have just said that the production has lost its way over the last 2 series. They've used that word woke, saying that he's been the most wokest Doctor Who. But last night, we have seen that Billie Piper is set to become the 2nd female Doctor Who.
Well,
we're very sceptical about that.
We're very sceptical about that because she's...
Why?
Well, partly because it would be hugely complex because of the fact she was in 3 seasons before as a companion. But also she posted, didn't she? Posted herself with a picture of a rose, saying a rose is always a rose is always a rose. So I think she's just going to make an appearance in the first episode and then it's all going to change again.
Well, that's what she's saying. She's saying she's not replacing Ncuti as Doctor Who, but then it just raises a lot of questions in what direction is the storylines going to be going, and is it going to be a hit for fans? Because if you think back to the 60s, 70s and 80s, Doctor Who was watched up to about 13 million viewers at its peak, and now they're lucky to get 2 million viewers. So this is definitely a show which is in crisis, and it's pulling out all the works to kind of save it.
It's going to be interesting to see. Stephanie, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, guys.
Quick one from John, who says there's going to be something called The War Between the Land and the Sea. That's a spin-off, which is happening. Oh. So that should be interesting.
OK, well, there you go. As I say earlier, it's been an incredible day for news and politics and all the rest of it. So stay tuned for the Camilla Tominey Show. Right now, we're going to have the weather.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, it's a showery start to meteorological summer, windy in the northwest, but still pleasantly warm in the south and east. So a fresher start across the southern parts of England, but a bright start across Scotland and Northern Ireland. A damp start here with heavy spells of rain that could be thundery. That swiftly moves its way eastwards, affecting much of northern England with showery outbreaks, then running into parts of Wales. That tends to break up. Then it'll be a case of sunny spells, scattered showers, but some strong winds, especially across the northwest of Scotland. Feeling warm in that sunshine, but not as mild and humid as recent days. So as we go through Sunday evening, like I said, some strong gusty winds coming down from the northwest across northwestern parts of Scotland. Elsewhere, showery outbreaks of rain. Turning a little bit dry across Northern Ireland later with some late evening sunny spells. Drier picture for northern England as we end Sunday. Elsewhere, a mixture of scattering of showers and some late evening sunshine. So as we go through the rest of Sunday evening, we actually have a ridge of higher pressure building in. So most of the showers will start easing as we go through the evening and overnight. A few showers may develop though still across western parts of Scotland, but otherwise plenty of clear spells. Temperatures ranging from 8 to 11 degrees, but could feel a little bit chilly in the countryside, especially in the north. So for many, Monday starts fine, dry and bright. Plenty of sunshine on offer, and it stays that way through much of the day. Some showers will bubble up, but the sunshine will be turning increasingly hazy across Northern Ireland and Scotland, with the winds increasing here too, ahead of the next area of low pressure. So cool in the north, but in the sunshine, highs of up to 22 degrees. Bye-bye for now.